If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 26, Achievement Reward. This way the savior Harry would be isolated in the school. The words of Jonathan would touch the concern of the parents, the thoughts of the critics and even the pride of the nobles. Can Dumbledore bear with all this? Well, he can really bear this and even come out victorious. But it will definitely wear out some of his connections. The more connections that Dumbledore loses right now would lead to more problems the Order of the Phoenix cannot solve. At the same time, the targets of Jonathan would be in dangerous situation without any support or protection. At that time Jonathan can step forward to help them and gain some mutual benefits. This is his plan from the start. Now he is implementing the things step by step. Because of all the troubles that Jonathan created but not pour oil in the fire to improve the troubles, Dumbledore solved them after 8 days. But the result is that Harry would not be selected for Quidditch this year. Just like normal times, the new students can only participate in Quidditch selections in the second year. Also, the broomsticks of Harry and Draco were confiscated. There is another good thing: the broomstick Nimbus 2000 costs more than 500 gold galleons. For the shares that Jonathan has, he would receive at least 50 gold galleons on every broom that was sold. For the brooms that both Draco and Harry got, Jonathan received 100 gold galleons as bonus. But these brooms are useless for both Draco and Harry. Even in the future Jonathan would not let them use the brooms with another reason. When Jonathan achieved this result, the system gave him a special reward. Ding! Congratulations, host, for the act of villainy and successfully damage the chance of the protagonist and his supporter. Congratulations, host, you will be rewarded with your flying skill upgraded to master grade directly. You will be able to fly at master grade flying skills on all kinds of magical flying devices of this world and other worlds. Jonathan was really surprised to see that achieving something beyond the choice has this kind of benefits. So he has changed his plans a little and started to think of a way to make the achievements that are higher than that of choices from the system. There is another thing here that cannot be overlooked. Dumbledore is not an idiot, and he can tell that someone specifically pointed fingers at him and Harry. Also that someone is in the school. He doubts Jonathan for this matter directly. But there is no suspicious activity from Jonathan during this time. Since Jonathan did not cause anything major before, he did not look at Jonathan specifically. Jonathan knows that this would happen as he is the most suspicious person with the most negative points from birth, background, and other things including motive. Because of this, Jonathan has already typed another set of letters related to the troll incidents and have already sent them. He did the typing work in the room of requirements before in secret. At that time he was not under surveillance. In the letters he sent, he already mentioned the information to both Wiley and Creaker. So they would complete the task on the next day of the Halloween. There is no confusion in this matter. Jonathan was smiling, and he is actually practicing occlumency and legilimency on himself when he was free. Also, after he was done sending the letters, he stopped using the time turner. During this time he did not do anything that is out of order. Well, he usually exercises and does some common things on spell casting and wand movements. These things are normal for a hard-working person that did not attract much attention to him. So all in all, Jonathan is having free time in his hectic schedule of practice over the years. The entire month of October Jonathan did not do anything out of order. He acted just like everyone. With that, the suspicion on him was shifted to the mysterious person that is hunting unicorn in the Forbidden Forest. Dumbledore thought that it was the remnant of the Death Eaters or some other dark wizard that has grudge against him. It was the Halloween day, that is 31st of the October. Jonathan was ready. Also during this time he changed his style a little, and the green wand usually seen rotating around his fingers like a pinwheel. It was like a childish mesmerizing act to attract attention of the children of that age. Well, it is understandable as Jonathan did not have any family and he seeks attention to prove his identity. It made the other teachers feel pity towards Jonathan and even appreciated him a little sometimes for his efforts. By himself Jonathan has gained over 100 points for Gryffindor during this time just by gaining the appreciation for his knowledge and efforts in various things. Hermione admired him, Daphne loved him more. Pansy on the other hand avoided him after his kiss on her cheek last time. Well, even if she speaks she would blush when Jonathan touches his lips looking at her. So she started to avoid him more. Harry and Ron are receiving help from Hermione in their studies without proper appreciation. This created rift between them during this time, and finally on the day of the Halloween Ron's words caused Hermione to become angry and broke the bond between them temporarily. Just like the original plot, Hermione became sad and cried all evening in the women's bathroom. Jonathan came to the Halloween feast and completed his feast early. Then came out of the Great Hall and walked towards the direction where Hermione is. On the way he encountered Professor Quirrell that is in full acting of his own. Jonathan did not disturb him, instead went along with his plan. Before coming out of the Great Hall he heard someone asking where Hermione is and they told him the location. Chapter 27, Calling for Professors instead of Saving People. Jonathan did not disturb him, instead went along with his plan. Before coming out of the Great Hall he heard someone asking where Hermione is and they told that person the situation and location of Hermione. Jonathan was there and listened to it. This can be used as a way to escape from suspicion. Jonathan waited in the corridor for a few seconds till he saw a troll coming towards the women's bathroom. Immediately he turned around and went towards the Great Hall. On the way he saw Harry and Ron that just passed by him with panicked faces. They are going to save Hermione. But Jonathan has other plans. When he returned to Great Hall he immediately heard the sarcastic words of Percy. Hey, what are you doing going around looking like a fool? There is a troll out there going around. Don't try to mess with others and kill people like your father. Come and get in the line. Jonathan became angry. The people that scolded him before in his previous life have ended up in the situations worse than death. Jonathan looked at him without any smile on his face. He did not have time to bicker with Percy, but Percy caught his hand while he was leaving to find Professor Flitwick or Professor McGonagall or other people. Jonathan was stronger than other people for his age because of the constant training. Percy on the other hand has good head weight, but his physical power is far worse. Jonathan directly pulled his hand, pulling along Percy to fall on the floor when Jonathan slapped on his face, making him to fall while rolling. Jonathan did not care about Percy as it was race against time. He immediately entered the Great Hall and looked at the professors that are discussing something. Professors, I have spotted a troll going towards the women's bathroom and Hermione is trapped there based on the words of some students. Please come quickly. Jonathan said, and he ran back toward the woman's toilet. While he is running he kicked Percy that was about to stand up to fall on the floor again. Jonathan might not look like it, but he has good amount of bone density, making him weight more than kids of his age. Hitting him at a specific angle with his intentions to hit can cause heavy damage to the opposite person. So Percy got a strong hit from Jonathan and even broke a bone or two in his body. The surrounding students of his class did not have a choice but to take him to infirmary while someone else took the remaining students to the common room. This delayed the teachers for a few seconds and Jonathan reached the women's toilet right at that time. He came here right when Ron uses the levitation spell to lift the club from the hands of the troll. Instead of Ron, Jonathan used the levitation spell, which made Ron think that he succeed in using the spell. Wingardium Leviosa. Hermione on the other hand, standing on the opposite side, saw Jonathan casting the spell. Ron tried to move his wand, wanting to move the club that is floating in the air. But the club did not move. He looked at the club just like the troll looking at the club with stupid face. Well, there is no particular difference between their expressions, except for their appearance. They are both stupid. It is not moving. Also, he did not understand that his spell is not the one controlling the club. Hermione looked and Harry also looked at Jonathan, finding that he is the one controlling the club. Jonathan waved his hand and the club acted like a baseball bat and hit the head of the troll right on the top of his head. Right at that instant, the professors that are few seconds late appeared at the entrance behind Jonathan. They saw Jonathan using his levitation spell to use the club to hit the head of the troll, and it was dead after that one hit. They all know that Jonathan was good with this spell and even used it to save Neville before. At the same time, in the morning class of charms under Professor Flitwick, Jonathan shared his experience to help his classmates, gaining another 10 house points. Right now the actions of Jonathan did not seem dangerous, but the actions of Harry and Ron are dangerous because they did not inform the teachers before coming to this dangerous place. Professor Snape moved forward to check the troll, confirming its death because of the heavy blow on its head, causing it brain to damage and die on the spot. The body of the 12-foot-tall troll lied down in the women's toilet, almost occupying the entire place. Hermione crawled out of the place with her messy hair. Professor Flitwick, that witnessed the entire incident, started to praise Jonathan, while Professor McGonagall started to criticize Harry and Ron for their impulsiveness. Hermione interjected with a lie to save Harry and Ron. Unfortunately, Jonathan spoke at that time. Miss Granger, you should not lie to professors when your life was just in a dangerous situation right now. It might have caused the death of others too if it was not for me to call the professors here quickly. Even then it was very dangerous. You should not support the impulsive people because one day they might face the unthinkable because of this impulsiveness. It should be corrected at the early age. The professors nodded their heads and even Snape looked at approvingly towards Jonathan this time. Well, he wanted nothing to happen to Harry, but this Harry, like his father, jumps at everything he sees. So he was angry with Harry. But the words of Jonathan had clearly given him excuse to punish Harry to set him straight for his love Lily. Well, he was even thinking of a way to turn Harry into a girl. Chapter 28, The Pre-Planned Troll Incident Part 1. But the words of Jonathan had clearly given him excuse to punish Harry to set him straight for his love Lily. Well, he was even thinking of a way to turn Harry into a girl with a potion and see if he would look like Lily. That is not all, he even had thoughts of reviving Lily using Harry as a medium. Well, he has many thoughts right now and he is not fully committed to Dumbledore's stupid suicide plan. With that, Harry and Ron received punishment instead of being praised. As for Hermione, she is just a victim and she was not punished for this matter. Jonathan received 20 house points from the professors present, but Harry and Ron lost 100 house points. That is 50 house points each, which decreased the house score. Jonathan doesn't want to lose the house cup, but he doesn't want it to be obtained through the efforts of Ron and Harry. So he shot off his mouth in a righteous way. There not even a single point that professors or students alike can refute from the words of Jonathan. So things are solved and Jonathan returned back to the dorm. On the other hand, Percy, that was hit by Jonathan, was actually placed in the hospital wing. For this, Jonathan was not punished because Percy's words have crossed the line already. Jonathan did not say anything to the words of Percy other than trying to help Hermione and fellow students. Jonathan's deeds have already spread around the school by the morning next day. At the same time, the information of the troll incident, including the incident with Percy, was spread throughout the magical world of the England. Jonathan has already anticipated all of this and even predicted the speech of conversation when things are in the play. Based on the personality of Percy, he would definitely speak ill of Jonathan. Even if he did not, Jonathan would provoke him. So the conversation between them even has some dramatic lines added to it and was sent around just like before. As for the conversation between Jonathan and Percy, Jonathan did not add many lines and most of it was the words of Percy. Well, he was silent in reality at the incident. But who cares about this matter? Also, who cares what is right or wrong and what is truth or lie? They would not care if Percy really said those words or not. All that cares is about the incident that happened. This is the nature of the public. At the same time, Weasley family would be burnt because of this incident by their rivals. Last night Jonathan received a choice. Ding! Option 1. Spread the news about the troll incident and Percy's words. Host will be rewarded with the improvement of occlumency and legilimency to moderate level, 50% completion towards proficient level. Host will gain more popularity and recognition from the people. Host will be doubted by the pure blood families as he helped in saving Muggle-born wizard Hermione, and blood traitors Harry Potter and Ron Weasley. The reputation of Hogwarts is damaged to some extent and the connections of Dumbledore is reduced again. The reputation of Harry Potter as the savior would be damaged with new image impulsive boy. Option 2. Do not spread the news of the incident of Troll and Percy's words. Host will become a little popular in Hogwarts that was not recognized by the outside world. Host will be doubted by the pure blood families as he helped in saving Muggle-born wizard Hermione, and blood traitors Harry Potter and Ron Weasley. The stopping letter of Host might be captured by Dumbledore and Host would become a confirmed suspect for the previous incident. Jonathan directly chose the first option. It was all pre-planned by him for things that were originally said in the consequences of his choice. As for the reward in occlumency and legilimency was his bonus reward. He did all this to gain benefits. Will he let them go just like that? Also, he don't want to show signs that he is the one that is doing all of this. Even though they still suspect him, good people would not act without proof, unlike the villains that did not care about the proof. So he would not do the stupid thing. That night when he slept, the improvements to his mind took place and his mind became stronger than before. When he reaches master level in occlumency and legilimency, then he don't have to fear lying in front of Dumbledore. Also, knowing the thoughts of other girls by reading their minds would become very easy for him. That way he can get the girls with their willingness slowly. He doesn't like to force other women to be with him. He only likes the willing ones. Well, it will take time to convince them, but it is all worth the efforts to slowly enjoy the fruits of labor. On the other hand, he would not care about men. Well, he is a man that likes women. So naturally he hates men. This includes his stupid father. Well, in the morning next day he went to the Great Hall for breakfast. Hermione appeared close to Harry and Ron. Their punishment is very simple. It was a detention with Professor Snape. This was specifically arranged by Dumbledore that understood the situation and the persuasion of Professor Snape, saying that they are not good in potions. This also convinced Professor McGonagall. So with that, they became the lab rats in the cold dungeon for the next few days, looking at the stern face of Professor Snape. As November begins, the Quidditch season starts. Unfortunately, because of what Jonathan did, Harry did not get to join the Quidditch team. So he received glares from Harry and Ron. As for Hermione, she has a complicated look. Even though she is a strict person by nature, she is also adventurous just like McGonagall. Chapter 29, The Pre-Planned Troll Incident Part 2. As for Hermione, she has a complicated look. Even though she is a strict person by nature, she is also adventurous just like McGonagall. So she accepted and rejected the words of Jonathan last night. Jonathan did not care about that, and as he sat down to eat, he saw Daphne that came over to sit opposite to him on the Slytherin table for breakfast. She looked at Jonathan and smiled. She heard about the incident and she is intelligent enough to understand that what Jonathan did is not without any thought. She felt like Jonathan is planning the things and acting at the perfect time to capture the opportunity. Jonathan also smiled back and ate something, sending some flying kisses secretly towards Daphne to make her blush. Right then the Great Hall has many owls delivering the newspapers to the people that opted for them. Dumbledore is already missing from the school already. He is not an idiot. From the last incident he knows that someone is playing with him. So he went to check if the incident related to the troll that happened yesterday has appeared in the outside world. As he expected, the papers were already printed the incident and wanted to send it out early in the morning. But Dumbledore used his connections and favors to solve the crisis. While many noble houses already know about this incident because of the name-specific letters has caused even more problems for Dumbledore. The information through word of mouth will also spread fast in the wizard world. Well, it is a small community and the number of newspapers is also limited. But there is another problem that Dumbledore ignored. It is related to the letters that Jonathan sent to other nations' newspapers. Jonathan is not only damaging Dumbledore but also Hogwarts as a whole. The final result would still fall on Dumbledore, that was the current headmaster of Hogwarts. So the higher the damage to the Hogwarts receives, the higher the damage Dumbledore receives. The more Dumbledore loses his connections, the more the Order of Phoenix and Harry Potter loses their shelter. Well, they are already dying tree right now with many branches that have already fallen and rotten. So with a simple breeze the big tree named Order of Phoenix would shake. Jonathan is continuously creating storms for it to face. Since the mother root that is the Dumbledore is still alive, it is managing. The moment Dumbledore dies is the moment everything falls. After Dumbledore uses all of his connections and favors right now, the others would not be able to use the favors in the future. Daphne that looked at the news almost sprayed the food that she ate. But she controlled her emotions quickly with all the training that the nobles put her through from young age. Well, this is not the case for many other people. It is especially so for the trio of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. The reason for this is the big article of Rita Skeeter about the yesterday's incident in a more complicated way. It is said that Harry and Ron went to peek at the women's bathroom. Then they happened to meet a troll. Also it said that Jonathan saved the poor muggle-born witch Hermione from getting peeked by Harry and Ron. This was highlighted while the troll incident was reduced by a notch. The incident of troll was dangerous, but the incident of perverts is far more dangerous. The title of a pervert as a public opinion is far more damaging to a man than being a coward that ran away from looking at a troll. Now Harry and Ron got this title through the foresight and simple modifications of Jonathan. The incident was actually modified by Jonathan before thinking that he doesn't want to be hero that just defeated a troll. Instead he wanted to be a hero that saved the beauty from the lecherous perverts and a troll. That would be truly fitting for a noble-born person with pure blood. Jonathan told Wiley and Creaker to send these special letters specifically to Rita Skeeter and Lucius other than the letters that were normally sent. This is a diversion tactic that Jonathan used to divert the attention of Dumbledore to the big incident where the small cracks with poison seeping inside were hidden. So Dumbledore really stopped the big distribution of troll incident. But Lucius, that was already mad because of his dick not standing up, was maddened when he thought of his rival's son Harry Potter peeking at a beauty with another rival's son Ron Weasley. As for other things he did not care. Do not underestimate the power of a man that was mad at becoming a eunuch suddenly at his prime of age with a hot wife. So the result is him spending his connections to make this other story spread like wildfire. Those people promised Dumbledore not to spread the incident about the troll, that is the information on the printed letter that they received. But this did not stop them from reporting the other peeking incident. With the money and connections that Lucius Malfoy offered, Rita Skeeter and others were very much interested. Rita Skeeter really wanted to find the person that has such a mind to drop off such a big thing on Harry and Ron. But she could not trace out the letter back. Not only her but even Dumbledore could not trace this back. If Dumbledore really could trace the things back, then he would have definitely traced many things in his past and stopped many things from happening, saving his loved ones. With that the Hogwarts was set on fire and the face of Dumbledore looked paler and tired. He tried his best to contain the things, but how much can he do? This incident not only covered the information of Harry and Ron peeking. It also contains the information about Chapter 30, Silver Tongue Skill. This incident not only covered the information of Harry and Ron peeking. It also contains the information about many of the pranks and incidents of Harry's father. Jonathan might be the son of a murdered while Harry became the son of a pervert. With that, the system gave another achievement to Jonathan. Ding! Congratulations host, you have made a great achievement. You have successfully given the title of a pervert to the protagonist and his supporter. Host would be rewarded with skill Silver Tongue of moderate grade. Jonathan can directly understand what his Silver Tongue, but he wanted to see if there are any benefits. Skill, Silver Tongue. Description, a skill that has the ability to persuade other to do the things that is in line with the wishes of the host. Grade, moderate. Special effects, when kissing another person with the tongue, the other person can never forget the tongue of the host. The kiss is not only on the woman's mouth. Jonathan was really shocked by the unexpected gain just now. But he cannot use it for now. Right now he has obtained many things and everything is improving perfectly with his precise planning. This skill will be of great use to him in the future, and he was thinking of improving it to master level or even higher. Jonathan has a premonition that he is not going to just live in this one world and his future is limitless. So he plans to improve his skills and knowledge as much as possible. He being transmigrated to here with his memories is already a miracle. So he was optimistic about the big things in the future. The breakfast time in the Great Hall became lively and most of the words are actually whispers. All of them are looking at Harry and Ron. Also they are looking at Hermione. With the names of Harry and Ron, the name of Hermione was also dropped. Because it was not written that she thanked Jonathan for saving her. Also it appears that she is keeping her distance from Jonathan for some reason. This made people look down on Hermione. The good opinion she built up has gone down the drain. Well, Jonathan did not care about that. Soon the name ungrateful bitch was spread for Hermione. Also the one that spread the name is actually Pansy and her girls gang to all the houses. On the other hand, whenever Harry and Ron appeared, there are sounds of kya from the girls. Also there are eyes of disgust and movements of hiding from Harry and Ron. Since Harry was not selected to become a part of Quidditch and Ron was not the one that defeated the troll, their reputation was not on the raising, but it became a sheer drop. With that, the original popularity of Harry being a savior started to drop. For this even Dumbledore cannot do anything. On November 8, Harry, Ron, and Hermione saw Professor Snape limping with clear tooth mark on his leg. Then they followed him because of their suspicion. The only people in the staff room are Snape and Filch. Filch is helping Snape to bandage a large wound on his leg that has been causing him to limp. When the trio hears Snape say about sustaining the injury, makes it clear he was bitten by Fluffy. Harry connects Snape's conversation with Filch. Snape talking to Argus Filch about the fact that the three-headed dog has attacked him, leaving a cut on his leg, which makes Harry and others even more suspicious. Hermione don't know about the three-headed dog as she was stopped by Jonathan before. But now they explained it to her, making her understand the thoughts of Harry. During this time Jonathan did not make any suspicious activity. He did not even use the time turner during this time. Many people are angry towards him and any small thing might reveal his capabilities or thoughts. Jonathan would not risk these things right now. So he was careful. He should be careful till the end of the month. By then all the current commotion would die down. On the next day, that is 9th of November, the Quidditch match between Gryffindor and Slytherin. Without Harry being the seeker, the Gryffindor team lost the match in the most disastrous way, with many people injured from the aggressive play of Slytherin. There is no swaying of the broomstick and the magic spell muttering of Professor Quirrell and saving of Professor Snape. Hermione did not go to light the robes of Professor Snape. So the entire plot is gone completely differently in this Quidditch match. On the other hand, when the Quidditch match is over, the trio of Hermione, Harry, and Ron went to meet with Hagrid. Harry tells Hagrid about Snape getting injured by the dog in the third-floor corridor. Hagrid involuntarily reveals that the three-headed dog, Fluffy, is his, and that what the dog is guarding is a secret known only to Albus Dumbledore and a man named Nicholas Flamel. Even though Jonathan is not here, he knows what is going on in Hagrid's hut. Well, it was all nonsense and he does not care about them. Instead, he prepared about the things that can let him the gap created by Slytherin in house points after they won the Quidditch match. He excelled during the classes and gained 100 house points for Gryffindor Indiana the next 20 days. With that, the big gap that was created was covered by Jonathan. Many people in the Gryffindor started to appreciate Jonathan about this matter. The month of December started on that next day and Jonathan saw Draco teasing Harry. Christmas is approaching. Malfoy teases Harry about having to stay at Hogwarts for the holiday, as he does not have parents. Harry, however, is looking forward to spending Christmas away from the Dursleys. Especially because Ron is also staying at Hogwarts, as Mr. and Mrs. Weasley are going to visit Ron's older brother Charlie in Romania. Chapter 31, Pity and Sympathy are Greatest Weapons for Covering. Harry, however, is looking forward to spending Christmas away from the Dursleys. Especially because Ron is also staying at Hogwarts, as Mr. and Mrs. Weasley are going to visit Ron's older brother Charlie in Romania. Jonathan is also staying at Hogwarts for the summer because he was not invited back to the Malfoy mansion till the summer break, unlike Draco. Well, Jonathan doesn't care about that. Draco not only teased Harry but also teased him. He also said that Jonathan has freeloaded at his house for so long that he should not come back to their house anytime soon. Many people looked at the entire incident weirdly. This happened in the Great Hall and many people realized that Jonathan is also an orphan in a way. His grandmother is dead, mother is dead, there are no other black family members alive or close to him. His father that he did not even see since birth is in jail. So there is nothing left for him. Also he is staying in the house of another person. Harry that was also the Great Hall felt Draco as Dudley and Jonathan as Harry in Dursley's house. He sees himself in Jonathan right now. At that very moment many of his previous thoughts about Jonathan started to shake violently. Jonathan never did anything bad to him. Jonathan never scolded or teased him. Jonathan tried to indirectly tell him that he should not go out during the dangerous times. The more he thought about that, the more he felt that he was the one that originally wronged Jonathan. Jonathan never did anything wrong to him. Also Jonathan was as much as of an orphan just like him, living in the house of others. He realized that he might have really mistaken Jonathan over the time. Even after all the things he and Ron said and did, Jonathan did not say anything to him. Jonathan never showed him anger either. While Harry is realizing things, there is another person that realized the things too. It was Hermione that thought bad about Jonathan. She now understands why Jonathan tells her not to break the rules. She thought that Jonathan was punished for breaking the rules in Draco Malfoy's house, making him very particular about breaking rules. This made her heart tight as she misunderstood him even after he saved her before. All he did was to tell her not to break the rules the same way she said to Harry and Ron. Even after saving her life she did not even say thank you to him. Instead she avoided him more and more. But Jonathan never said anything to her, both in front of her and behind her back. Thinking of this, she realized that the prediction of Jonathan has come true as she started to hate him without a reason. Not that she realized, as she started to feel the greatness of Jonathan and also guilt for not thanking him before. On the other hand, some professors and others that realized this also have different opinion. But the most common thing is actually pity. They pity him. You know, the greatest benefit of a man being pitied is the support of everyone. Even politicians use the emotions of sympathy and pity on them to with the elections in most of the cases. They would do many stunts to show that they are pitiful and gain sympathy of the people to make a lasting impression. At the same time they would show that they are helping many people to gain the support of other voters. Combining these two, they would create a righteous image for themselves and win elections. But knowing this is not enough, one has to learn from this. If a person can gain the authority to rule and trust of so many people with these simple two things, why Jonathan would let them go? So he planned the things slowly and purposefully made Draco say those words. Actually, Draco has the habit of saying these words from few years ago. This was done because of the provocation of Jonathan. Well, Jonathan doesn't have to work hard, as Draco's original nature is like that. With the simple plan and right timing and situation, Jonathan's plan to make Draco utter those words was created and succeeded. When hearing the words of Draco, Harry showed anger. On the other hand, Jonathan did not show any fluctuations. It is as if he has heard these words many times. This would deepen the thoughts of others about the suffering of Jonathan more compared to the suffering of Harry. Well, they did not see either of them suffer over the years. But they just imagined based on the emotions showed by the victims of the same incident. So Jonathan gained another benefits right now, and any and all suspicion that he got during this time would be removed completely. Even if there are remnants, they would be removed by the time the Christmas break is over. With that thought, Jonathan became excited. He went to Daphne to speak as they met in the place outside the castle beside the lake. They sat side by side as Jonathan spoke. "How are things in the Slytherin?" "It is fine. Is there anyone that is trying to mess with you there?" "No." "That is good. Have a safe journey back home. If something happens, write to me so that I will take care of it." Even though I did not have any adults by my side, I still have someone to help me take care of a few things. They conversed as they sit apart like friends and not like lovers. Neither of them moved close to each other during their conversation. She wanted to come close to him. But being a girl, she wanted to be reserved and did not lose the impression of Jonathan being a loose woman. Finally their conversation ended and they are about to part ways. Chapter 32, Affection Meter and Mood Check. But being a girl, she wanted to be reserved and did not lose the impression of Jonathan being a loose woman. Finally their conversation ended and they are about to part ways. When they stood up, Jonathan pulled her into his embrace and gave a kiss on her cheek. This made her blush. She did not expect Jonathan to do this. As she was struggling to get out of his embrace, Jonathan held her tightly and whispered in her ear. I really wanted to kiss those beautiful lips of yours. But this is not the time yet. I will do that when the time is right. Daphne stopped struggling and looked down with red face without daring to look into his eyes. Jonathan kissed her forehead and then turned his head towards the side where there are few boulders. Then he smiled playfully and said, I know you are there. If you don't come here, I will punish you. I have both good punishment and bad punishment. Good punishment is a secret, while the bad punishment is that I will not speak with you anymore and I will not associate with you anymore. The hiding figure panicked and came out of hiding with red face. It was the crazy Tom girl Pansy. Daphne was shocked and she remembered the scene when he kissed Pansy on the cheek to make her quiet down before in the train. She is a girl with mature heart. She can understand the feelings of Pansy. Also, she is not opposite to Jonathan having only her. The reason for this is actually simple. She cannot hold back a person like Jonathan that has deep thoughts. She is an intelligent person and she understands what is happening with the mind of Jonathan. Also, she doubt that the news about the troll, about Harry, and other things were Jonathan's doing. So this made understand Jonathan deeply. Also, this is the very thing that attracted her towards devilish being like Jonathan. She feels that Jonathan truly loves her and he would never let her go. Since it is like that, she doesn't want Jonathan to leave other women either. If she is Jonathan's queen, she needs some people to take care of them. Well, she is gloriously calling them as concubines or lovers, which are in her mind called as maids. That is her thoughts, and as nobility other than the main wife that is her, Jonathan needs more women on his side. She liked Jonathan to have more women. This is so that he can gain more experience to satisfy her in the future. Well, her thinking process is different and she likes to dominate other women. Her thoughts are twisted just like the thoughts of Jonathan. For this very reason she was in the Slytherin. But one thing is for sure, that is she loves Jonathan very much and could not think of parting with him. Right before Jonathan called Pansy over, he received a choice. Ding! Pansy is looking at the close moments of Host and Daphne. Choice 1. Let her watch and leave without caring about her. Her thoughts about Host would turn into jealousy and hatred towards Daphne. Choice 2. Call her over and let her take the initiative to get a kiss from you on her cheek. Host would be rewarded with affection and mood meter along with the obsessive love of Pansy. For this, Jonathan chose the second option and he called her out. As for the thoughts of Daphne, Jonathan knows that she would not mind. If she minds it, then she would have already asked or scolded him before when he kissed Pansy in the train. Since she did not ask, it means that she has other thoughts. Pansy walked over slowly to Jonathan and Daphne is standing. Jonathan did not let go of Daphne. But he opened up his arm and took the hand of Pansy, suddenly startling her. Then he pulled her into his arms while still holding Daphne with the other hand. When Pansy got close to him, Jonathan straightaway kissed her on the cheek and said, "This is your good punishment," Jonathan said, looking straight into her eyes, and then he wanted to let her go. But Pansy is in dazed state and she held on to Jonathan without letting him go. Daphne looked at this and she also did not let Jonathan go. On the other hand, Jonathan got the affection meter and mood indicator. Also the information of the level of affection was also mentioned. 1 to 20 points means acquaintances. 21 to 40 points means known each other or basic trust. 41 to 60 points means affectionate or starting love. 61 to 80 points means love in any form, pure trust. 81 to 95 points means deep love and complete trust. 96 to 100 points means obsessive love and absolute trust. As he looked at Pansy, the affection meter showed that she is at 96 points directly. Jonathan doesn't know why her affection towards him is so high. Also it shows that she is in obsessive love with Jonathan. Jonathan has to take his time to ask her why she loved him so much. He even know that he missed something that caused Pansy to become so obsessed with him. On the other hand, when he looked at Daphne, the affection points show that she is at 98 points. Well, this doesn't have to be guessed. Jonathan gave them another kiss on their cheeks and then sent them off. As for how they decide to share Jonathan between will be left for them to decide. While returning he saw Hermione that was leaving to Hogsmeade Station to return back to England to go back to her home for Christmas. Jonathan looked at her and found that her affection towards Jonathan is only 34 points. Her mood is complicated and it says that she is feeling guilty towards Jonathan. Jonathan can guess the reason for this is about the words of Draco before. Chapter 33, Ritual, Magic Circle. Her mood is complicated and it says that she is feeling guilty towards Jonathan. Jonathan can guess the reason for this is about the words of Draco before. He did not wait for her to speak and directly walked away without even taking a second look at her. She has to feel a little more and these thoughts should be imprinted in her mind right now. It should be useful for him in the future. Hermione did not know how to speak to Jonathan and can only see the back of his lonely figure as he walked towards Hogwarts. Hermione slumped down her shoulders and walked towards the Hogsmeade railway station to return back to England. Her mind is in turmoil and there are many feelings mixed in. Even though she is proud girl that is into studies, she has good amount of emotional intelligence too. After she left Jonathan returned to his dorm and continued with his studies and practices. He has one important thing to complete during this time when he was free from all restrictions. That is his house elves Wiley and Creaker have obtained enough materials to go through a ritual to improve his body connection to magic. Also this would improve his physique to the next level. The materials are many rare herbs and materials. The Black family has a special ritual book that can let him completely absorb the special herbs and materials and integrate it into his body. For that he has to create a magic circle with the blood mixture of specific beasts. He got all the required materials that are missing from his collection of the Black family and Goldsman family from the house elves Wiley and Creaker. He just got them in the morning that day that was brought by Goldie. That night he put a dummy in sleeping position and went to the room or requirements. He successfully sneaked to that place. He has an extra pair of dresses, uniform and other things in his space pockets in the system space. The materials were also placed inside. After entering the room of requirements he started to take out the materials and inspect them. But before that he placed few rune symbol engraved copper sheets on 4 sides of the room. The room he imagined is a big place that can let him perform a ritual along with a spring water bath to the side. These rune symbols are used to seal off the place so that others would not be able to peek in without his permission. Unfortunately these rune symbols would not last forever. There is specific number of usages. They were already used before by his predecessors and there are only few times of usage left. But Jonathan did not care about that. Once activated it would last for 12 hours straight. This place within the barrier would be detached from the outside world. After checking the materials he started to draw the magic circle based on information in the book of rituals from the Black family with the blood. He slowly started to draw the circle that took him over an hour. When he is done with the process there are 2 big concentric circles filled with runes. Inside the circle the lines are drawn to connect 2 more circles touching each other that are connecting with each other with runic lines. It is like placing 2 discs connecting each other in a basket. Jonathan placed all the materials that he brought into one circle where materials are needed to be placed. In that materials circle there are many small circles that are perfectly the materials that Jonathan brought connecting each other with runes and lines. Then he stripped off his clothes and sat on the different circle connected to the materials circle. Then he started to make hand signs and speak out complicated words of the runic language to activate the magic circle. With his changing the magic circle started to activate. As soon as the magic circle is activated the materials in each of the smaller magic circles started to melt into strange liquid of their respective colors. Then each of these materials started to move through a different runic line and started to mix with different materials at various compositions. This is the good thing about magic circle. The mixing of various materials was done so naturally that there is no problem with specific mixing to be done by hand. This slowly continued to mix and finally a strange metallic liquid with the tint of blood color with golden and black hue formed in the materials side. Then the liquid followed the lines to enter the circle where Jonathan is sitting. Immediately the liquid made contact with his body. Jonathan felt an intense pain as if his skin, nerves, and bones are melting. But he did not flinch with strong determination in his eyes. Slowly the liquid climbed up his body covering him completely with a coating of this metallic liquid. The step-by-step pain made Jonathan wanted to stop the process but stopping the process now would completely make him into that of a normal human from a wizard. This is the price for this kind of rituals. Once started he has to complete the ritual till the end and if not the magic would never work for him. He gritted his teeth as his face was slowly covered by the liquid completely covering his body. This process continued for hours and during this time he sat there like a rock feeling the intense pain. But then the pain changed into warmth and his body felt strange. The bones, muscles, nerves, skin and senses all started to become strong. Now he felt more connected with the magic and even his body felt strong. He is currently entering the pubic phase soon in few months. So his body is preparing for the maturity process. During this time the improvements are very important for his future achievements. Chapter 34, Ritual is completed, new changes. So his body is preparing for the maturity process. During this time the improvements are very important for his future achievements. On the outside his body looked like a metal statue covered in red metallic material with gold and black hue. The glow lasted for 8 hours straight and Jonathan suffered for few hours inside. After that he only felt comfortable. After 8 hours the metallic statue slowly shook for a little while and then cracks appeared on it. Its metallic glow is gone and it started to become something like sand. But this sand did not have any nutrients. It is just a common sand or dirt that could not grow anything including grass. The cracks crumbled into this sand and it revealed the body of Jonathan that went through the process of magic rebirth. His body looked normal but there is small flow of air about his body. It is not air but the magic concentration on his body. This was the proof that his ritual is successful. But there is still another step which usually people ignore. The magic mass that is surrounding his body is an excellent thing to improve his body. With his magic mass carefully absorbed and integrated into the body the strength and potential of the body and magic would improve by over 10 times. This is an ancient ritual and many wizards have performed it. But only a few have ever completed this forgotten last step. Those wizards are magic warriors instead of just wizards. Their body is excellently strong and they are inherently powerful compared to many wizards. The reason why Gryffindor, Slytherin are powerful is because of many rituals that they went through to improve. Each ritual was costly and consumes many magical treasures. Jonathan has already consumed over 10% of the resources that he got from the Black family and Goldsman family. The materials that are brought by his house elves Wiley and Kriaker are just small amount of auxiliary materials that needed to be freshly obtained with small life period. That is the reason why he told them to buy them now. With the ritual done he say straight and started to chant a different runic string of sounds making the secondary magic circle activate. Immediately a vast amount of magical energy started to flow into the magic circle but the sublime process is soft. That is only experienced people would notice the magic flow. Today Dumbledore is not in the school. This is the main reason why Jonathan did this process today. The magic started to enter his body creating a second round of pain which is like being pierced by needles. But the pain only lasted for few minutes before his body started to strengthen with the magic hue on his body. It slowly but completely integrated into his body. It took him another 2 hours to complete before his body was covered with slimy sweat. His body now has outlined the strong sets of muscles that a highly trained man should have. There is no buffed up muscles. But everything about his body has explosive power residing in them. Right then his grass wand that was placed on the side started to twitch and went to his body. It is like it resonated with him and strange life energy flowed into his body from the wand. With the life energy entering Jonathan literally moaned from pleasure. Finally after 11 hours of continuous efforts he has completed the ritual and he was very strong right now. He might not be able to bend a solid steel bar. But he can really do some solid damage to human body and break some solid bones. Also he can bend some steel rods that are hollow, his skin is stab proof. That is if he was stabbed by normal people but not specifically trained people. Jonathan looked at his grass wand that came to him and smiled. He felt a strong connection with the wand right now. He put the wand back to the side and went to take a bath. His body felt sticky from all the sweat. After washing up he put on his casual dress and packed all of his things. Then he went out of the room of requirements using a normal invisibility cloak and went to his dorm. The people are still sleeping as it was holidays and the climate is cold. After packing up the things he went to the lake outside and looked at the serene lake and started to paint some drawing. For other people this is a hobby, but for Jonathan this is a special training. He is training, simple but smooth movements of wrist. Firmness in grasping a wand or a weapon. Delicate but precise strokes. This is what he is doing while giving out an illusion of painting. He painted for 2 hours and appeared in the eyes of many people that came out to do various things. They did not leave but came over to look at his painting. Jonathan with his changed body looked extremely handsome for his age and can make many women throb with the artistic image of him painting by the side of a lake. It is not only the image that he draw looked picturesque but his entire being and drawing looked like an image on its own. The girls are literally drooling at Jonathan but he is still 12 to 13 years old so they could not make a move being seniors. But they still wanted to give it a try. The devilish temptation their hearts are having is very hard for them to bear. So they are preparing some things to target Jonathan for this Valentine's Day. They already forgot that Jonathan was the son of a murderer called Sirius Black. Instead they remembered him as a handsome, brave, kind-hearted gentleman that fought against a troll to save an ungrateful girl that did not even thank him. Chapter 35, Plans to get the study notes of Nicholas Flamel. They already forgot that Jonathan was the son of a murderer called Sirius Black. Instead they remembered him as a handsome, brave, kind-hearted gentleman that fought against a troll to save an ungrateful girl that did not even thank him. Harry and Ron also saw the scene looking at the crowd at the lake. They were mesmerized by the image they are seeing. Jonathan did not stay there for long as he left after completing his delicate workout for hand movements and control. After that he went to take a quick bath and then he went to have breakfast. Today he was a little exhausted with ritual all night last night. His body needs time to adapt to the new changes. Also he needs rest to completely recover. Even though he became strong he needs time to recover after such a long process of improvement. After breakfast he came to sleep on his bed without caring about anything. He woke up in the evening and took another comfortable hot water bath. Coming out he felt very refreshed. He went to eat something in the Great Hall while Harry and Ron are suffocating in the library to find who Nicholas Flamel is. Jonathan did not bother with these people as he has his own things to do. As for the Philosopher's Stone, Jonathan has other plans to get that later. He was also thinking of getting the notes of Nicholas Flamel so that he can understand the secrets of alchemy. For that he already thought of some things and went to library. He is going to see through some books and write few letters to Nicholas Flamel to gain his favor. When he received the letters from Jonathan he would most definitely ask Dumbledore about this. Since he trusted Dumbledore enough to give his Philosopher's Stone to him, Jonathan was sure that he would definitely ask Dumbledore about him. So Jonathan has to change the opinion of Dumbledore towards him during this time. Dumbledore did not have any bad opinion of him, but he has some doubt of the past incidents. But now they all proved to be wrong. He knows that Jonathan cannot see through what would happen in the future and arrange things so perfectly before anything happens. Even he cannot see through future, and he has never heard of an artifact that can see through future. So the only thing left that there is a rogue in the school that was planning things behind his back. With that his suspicion of Jonathan is gone. He also heard the words of Draco and thought that Jonathan is pitiful. This was already in the plan of Jonathan and now he is going to take another step forward. Dumbledore is very good in many things, but even he is not perfect. Jonathan went straight to the library and then started to rummage through the books on alchemy. After his magic improvement, which improved his spirit and body, he was able to read the books much faster. Also his comprehension of information has increased by many levels. He already has comprehension skill that is at master level before. But now it has improved by over 20% above master level. There is God level above master level, but the improvement is hard to obtain. Right now the ritual has improved magic affinity, which is related to his spirit rather than his physical body. So it has permanent effect on his spirit. This led to the improvement of his skill related to spirit. Don't take 20% as little improvement, because this 20% is letting the skill reaching to the God level, which is very powerful. Harry and Ron were also in the library, but when they looked at Jonathan that is rummaging through the books related to alchemy at a speed like paper flipping, they were shocked. They instinctively thought that Jonathan is mocking them. Jonathan did not care about what they thought as he went through book after book. There is one more thing he specifically did with his gentle hand movements. Even though he is flipping through the books at a faster pace, his gentle hand movements did not cause any damage to the book. Also his care towards the book as if they are treasure has made Madame Pants look up to Jonathan. Jonathan held the books and handled them as if he was taking care of little children. This was also in his calculation where he would get good impression from her too. The need here is that she would not even let Dumbledore take a book out of the library. Making good impression on her was also necessary to gain some benefits from her. After reading the books, Jonathan started to make some notes. This note has the list of questions that he can ask those professors and later get connected to Dumbledore because they cannot answer him. From Dumbledore he can talk to Nicholas Flamel. The detailed plan would only require him till the end of the holidays and before the school opens. Even before that he can contact Nicholas through letters and cut the things from both sides. By the time it was night, that is around the dinner time, his research is completed. First of all he went to pester Professor McGonagall that is good with transfiguration, and then he went to pester Snape that is good with potions. But they could not answer him because their expertise is not in alchemy completely. On the other hand, they suggested him to go to Dumbledore to ask these questions. Well, Jonathan's enthusiasm has won over their thoughts. They cannot just say no to a student that is trying his best to learn. Jonathan went to meet with Dumbledore after dinner. Dumbledore was surprised to find that Jonathan came to visit him. But after finding that Jonathan wanted to have clarifications to his doubts in some subjects, Dumbledore acted like a qualified teacher. Chapter 36, Switching the Real Invisibility Cloak with Fake Invisibility Cloak. Dumbledore was surprised to find that Jonathan came to visit him. But after finding that Jonathan wanted to have clarifications to his doubts in some subjects, Dumbledore acted like a qualified teacher. Jonathan started to shoot off his questions in alchemy that Professor McGonagall and Professor Snape failed to solve for him. Dumbledore looked at the alchemy questions and he became interested. In the past few days he is having problems to solve that are related to Harry and Ron. So he was exhausted about the daily affairs. On the other hand, it was subject-related problems which is easy to solve. It was actually human nature when they saw some big unsolvable problem which took all of their efforts and then made them do some small simple problem, their attitude would change. It is like using hard work to climb the stairs, but when descending it made them feel very relaxed. This is the feeling Dumbledore has right now. The person that caused this feeling would naturally receive the positive response. That night Jonathan wrote a letter to Nicholas Flamel about how he was a fan of his work and few other things. Jonathan did spoke to Dumbledore about alchemy and discussed many things, giving a sense of pride and happiness to Dumbledore. On the next day Dumbledore received a letter from Nicholas Flamel that only of the students at Hogwarts wrote him a letter. Jonathan wrote the letter in a way that he did not admire Nicholas Flamel, instead he admired the knowledge that Nicholas Flamel has. This point was picked up by him and he became impressed. Now he wanted to meet Jonathan. But before that he wanted to ask Dumbledore to know more about Jonathan. Dumbledore was dumbfounded because Jonathan moved too fast. But when he read through the letter and the enthusiasm of Jonathan made Dumbledore think that Jonathan has passion towards the alchemy. So he gave back a response to Nicholas about Jonathan and explained the situation of Jonathan to him. Nicholas got the letter on that very day and started to think of various things related to the Black family. But Jonathan was innocent in this matter. So he decided to test Jonathan first and see if he would be suited to carry his legacy. He has already tested all of his descendants, disciples, talented people. But he did not find a person that can carry his legacy in alchemy. So he did not have a successor till now. Also he decided to end his life in a year or two, as he already gave the Philosopher's Stone to Dumbledore to destroy it. So he did not have much time to live and he gave up on the successor thing. But now when reading the letter from Jonathan, his hope came back to life. With the reply from Dumbledore he became even more interested in Jonathan. Jonathan's family circumstances are complicated. Also his life after the death of his grandmother is to stay in Malfoy's family. Dumbledore specifically mentioned the words of Draco to show the situation of Jonathan. Well, these words took a strong root in the hearts of the listeners. It is an irrefutable fact that they cannot refuse. Jonathan did stay in the Malfoy's house. They cannot refuse that, so they did not say anything to Draco before. Sympathy would increase the good opinion when it is required. Jonathan's emotional opinion foundation for the surrounding people is very strong with his step-by-step planning. With that he was easily approved by Nicholas Flamel. Jonathan was invited for the Christmas dinner at his house. Dumbledore would accompany Jonathan there. Then Nicholas would test Jonathan to see if Jonathan was capable to become his successor. Jonathan was very happy to go. Slowly time passed by and it was already December 25th early hours. The gifts have already been put at the place of the Christmas tree of each dorm room. Jonathan woke up very early so that he could switch real invisibility in the package with his normal invisibility cloak. He has already used magic to remove all kinds of traces from the invisibility cloak he has, and he used his mother's wand for this. There is no trace that it belongs to him or the Black family. Also this invisibility cloak looked very similar to the real one. Jonathan went to the packaging area and first opened the package related to Harry that has the invisibility cloak and replaced it. Then he sealed it with a repair spell and made it look like it was before. After that he stored the real invisibility in his system space separately. As soon as he got the cloak he got a notification from the system. Ding! Congratulations host for obtaining an ancient invisibility artifact of high grade. Host replacing the invisibility cloak did not have any impact on the plot proceedings. So host would not receive any extra benefits from the system. Jonathan was shocked to know this information. Since there is no change in the plot or problem for the protagonist, Jonathan would not be given special benefits that a villain should get from the system. Jonathan sighed at this moment and then he went back to sleep. Jonathan did not check the gifts that he got and he also sent gifts to a few people that he is close to. It was a cold day and he was having a good time sleeping. If not for stealing the real invisibility cloak, he would not have woken up so early. He woke up late that day and after he woke up he got a call from Dumbledore. Jonathan doesn't know why he was called. He dressed up and went to the headmaster's office to speak to Dumbledore. He already got the password for the spiraling stairway. When Jonathan arrived, he saw the phoenix on the small bird stand that is looking beautiful. Jonathan came to it and looked into its eyes. Chapter 37, Dumbledore sees the image of his dead friend in Jonathan. When Jonathan arrived, he saw the phoenix on the small bird stand that is looking beautiful. Jonathan came to it and looked into its eyes. It is also looking at Jonathan. He has a strange sense of closeness to it because they both possess one of the attribute that is common between them. It is the endless life energy that mixed in with his body and soul from his wand in the ritual before. He doesn't know, but his heart now has a green layer that is mixing with his blood. This is the source of energy from the druid heart. Whenever his heart beats, this energy would pass on to his blood and circulate around his body, strengthening it on its own. It is absorbing the life energy from the surroundings in minute quantities, just like a grass root, and injecting it into his body. His body is being vitalized. If this continued, in a few years he can become a walking ancient tree with full vitality. Well, he will not have bark, branches, and leaves, but he would look young, strong in both fight and in bed, and few more special things. Jonathan was interested in alchemy because of the long life and few other secrets related to the magic origin. Everything in the world is formed through mixing of elements made up of complicated minute runes. Their runes are not in symbolic form but are in the form of energies, like the things explained in Einstein's string theory of energy. This is the most basic form of known energy in science that he already knows and combined with the magic knowledge. But if he wants to find the exact knowledge, then he has to start by stepping into alchemy to know the origin of the runic symbols. Sometimes you have to check something that is seemingly completely unrelated to find the solution for a problem. Jonathan is currently doing that now. The big phoenix slowly pecked onto a nut of some sort, broke it and gave it to Jonathan. Jonathan is not a harmful or a person filled with killing intent. He is a villain, but a civilian one at that. If it is not required, he would not make any move to show his hostility or killing intent. Well, even if he is angry, he would never show killing intent, but the malice can be felt. The phoenix did not feel any malice from Jonathan. On the other hand, it felt closeness to Jonathan because of the vitality that Jonathan has, which is similar to it. It stands between the life and death, while Jonathan possesses strong life energy that attracted it. It gave the nut it cracked to Jonathan as a friendly gesture. This is largely different from when Harry had contact with this phoenix. Jonathan took the nut and in return he gave it a big red fruit called jumbo cherry to it to eat. Phoenixes are said to be herbivores, so they likes fruits and nuts but not meat. While they both are enjoying their conversation with their sign language and some treats, Dumbledore arrived. He was actually feeling strange because he felt that he has seen his friend in Jonathan. It was his close friend that was a muggle but researched on many magical beasts. Sadly, his lifespan is not long like the wizard's. He was gone, but the way Jonathan is talking with his phoenix is exactly like his friend would do. This took him back into the past and finally came back to the reality. Well, Jonathan did not do that intentionally. In the past life, after he was betrayed and he transformed into a villain, he was close to animals. At that time he believed that beasts are more loyal to him than humans. He petted many beasts from dogs to lions. There are even crocodiles and hawks in his pets. Till his death he was never betrayed by them. Even the snow fox he treasured in his pets, that is known for its cunningness, has never betrayed him. This closeness to the beasts is helping him right now too. Finally Dumbledore arrived down and Jonathan noticed Dumbledore. He stopped his little things with the bird and looked at Dumbledore. Nicholas has written a letter to me saying that he wants to meet you. He wants me to bring you to Christmas dinner today. Do you wish to go? Jonathan immediately nodded his head and he was very happy to go. He acted more like a child of his age. Dumbledore was amused and told Jonathan to go and prepare. They will be leaving in the evening. Jonathan was happy that his plan has succeeded. Before leaving he told the phoenix that he would bring it something good later, or it can come to visit him later for a treat. Jonathan wanted to prepare a gift for the phoenix just like he got one for Goldie. He already sent gifts for both Wiley and Creaker. For Wiley, Jonathan sent it a new dress along with a letter telling it that it was free and it can work for him if it wanted to. Also there is a little money along with the letter in the cover for it as the bonus salary. It was really moved into tears and Creaker it. Jonathan authorized them to have wine and some goose for Christmas dinner from the family account money that he left for them. So they are having fun with extra big meal. Usually they eat cheap food or leftover food. But today they are having a king's meal. This made them determined to be with Jonathan more and more. That is not all. Jonathan sent 2 bracelets to the 2 girls with good designs, one for Daphne and the other one for Pansy that is in love with him. He got some gifts from them too. His Goldie received some good treats from him that are its favorite. Chapter 38, Christmas Dinner with Nicholas Flamel. He got some gifts from them too. His Goldie received some good treats from him that are its favorite. The extra left with him were given to the Phoenix today. Jonathan did not give any gifts to Malfoy family or Hermione or any other person that he did not like. After Jonathan got ready, he was taken to the house of Nicholas in the evening. Dumbledore has other things he wanted to take care of during the night. The house of Nicholas Flamel is very normal, just like the house of Slughorn. In the house only the old couple of Nicholas and his wife live. There is an old house elf called Mary that is working here. Dumbledore introduced Jonathan to Nicholas, and Jonathan acted very politely without showing any airs of the Black family or nobility. Nicholas nodded inside his mind. They went to have a dinner directly. The dining table is full with various rare dishes. Jonathan was happy to eat. Well, humans earn money for two main things, not matter what they say. It is to eat good tasty food and to sleep comfortably. These are the most primary needs that any person wants to have. So Jonathan perfectly enjoyed his every meal and gets the full sleep he wanted, not matter what happens. Well, he did this as much as possible for him to have. During the lunch he did not act like a hungry ghost, but he did compliment the dishes that he liked and ate without showing much modesty. Naturally, the old people thought that Jonathan did not get to eat good dishes during his time at Malfoy family. This increased their pity towards him, and this in turn increased their closeness towards him along with good impression. Even Dumbledore has different thoughts. Sometimes it is not big things, but some minute details would cause big impact when it matters the most. Finally the dinner is over and the group went to the hall to have desserts. Right then Nicholas started to talk to Jonathan one-on-one. "Mr. Jonathan, did you like the dinner?" Jonathan modestly said. "They are very well made, thank you for the treat, sir," Jonathan said with puppy dog eyes and innocent face. A villain needs to be able to produce many expressions at moment's notice so that he can change the situations and make people trust him more. Then Nicholas asked another question about Jonathan's letter and his interest in alchemy. Jonathan then started to explain about his thought on alchemy and his littler understanding. For his age, his understanding of alchemy is already great. So Nicholas was satisfied with the response. Dumbledore was also satisfied with the response too. But there is still one more point that Nicholas has to ask Jonathan to make sure that Jonathan is of right character. "Mr. Jonathan, do you know about the Philosopher's Stone?" Jonathan nodded his head and started to explain what he knows. The Philosopher's Stone was a legendary alchemical substance with magical properties. This ruby-red stone could be used to create the elixir of life, which made the drinker immortal, as well as transform any metal into pure gold. The only known stone in this current era was made by you, sir. But I think that there is one flaw to it. Based on the ancient texts related to the Philosopher's Stone, it should also give youth, making the person look at his optimum body situation along with immortality. But the stone made by you is naturally not to that level. In the past there was one Philosopher's Stone available in ancient Egypt that is said to have come from the sun god Ra. It is called the star Isis, that would produce gold along with the youth and immortality water. Also this stone can cure illnesses and diseases of the people keeping the place it was present healthy and prosperous. Similarly, there was a Philosopher's Stone appearance in India in the hands of a god king Lord Krishna. They called it Shaman Takamani. It is a red stone that is said to produce gold under the sunlight and keep the person wearing it and the place it present devoid of disasters with good prosperity and health. Also the stone emits a strong light like the sun itself. Jonathan explained the knowledge he has on the Philosopher's Stone. Jonathan was frank without any airs. He did not point out that Nicholas is at fault, but he said about various types of Philosopher's Stones previously present and the difference. Nicholas nodded his head. He understands the fault of his own creation. He was satisfied with Jonathan being frank, unlike others that praise him for his creation and nonsense. Dumbledore was also happy as his thought of negativity towards Jonathan started to break off. Jonathan smirked inside his mind as he was just playing tricks. With this solved, Nicholas asked Jonathan. "Mr. Jonathan, what would you do if I gave you the Philosopher's Stone? Would you make gold? Would you like to be immortal like me?" Jonathan knows how to answer this. "Sir, with all due respect, I could not take the Philosopher's Stone. Even if I took it, I could not keep it with me. It is no different than having a death sentence to a person like me. Even though I like the gold that can become a funding means for my future research. Likes the immortality that can let me research as much as I want with extended life. Well, every researcher likes that. But I prefer to life to see another day with good food and good sleep instead of holding something I should not have held on to my hands. I want to research and become someone great, but for that I have to stay alive first. It might look selfish, but I cherish my life. So I cannot accept the Philosopher's Stone, even if you magnanimously gave it to me. I know my limits very well. Chapter 39, became Nicholas Flamel's disciple. So I cannot accept the Philosopher's Stone, even if you magnanimously gave it to me. I know my limits very well. Jonathan said, clearly showing his desire but also the restraint about this matter. Previously, when Nicholas looked for successors, they either told him that they are not interested in the Philosopher's Stone, which is a lie, or they are either greedy for the Philosopher's Stone like blind idiots with their intentions written on their face. Jonathan did not show either side. Instead, he told them that he valued his life more than other things. This is the most important point. Originally something like this would only happen to a protagonist, but here it is happening to a villain. Well, Jonathan used his means to gain this chance, but still things seem a little more on the easier side. This was because the current incident did not have any relation to the plot he was currently a part of. With Jonathan's words, Nicholas was satisfied and asked, "Jonathan Black, do you wish to become my disciple?" He asked, and Jonathan widened his eyes for a moment and immediately nodded his head. As if Nicholas Flamel would take his words back, Jonathan immediately spoke. "Thank you for the offer. I am very grateful if Master Nicholas would take me in as a disciple. I accept it with all my heart." Nicholas nodded his head and gave an old book to Jonathan. It was not thick, but actually it was magically shrunk. It can be said to be the thickest book that Jonathan had ever seen. "This is all my research and information on my insights. I did not have long to life, as I have already decided to end this long journey of life. I hope that you would succeed in learning the basics before I leave. You can stay here till the end of the winter break and also come here in your summer break. During this time I will teach you. When you are at school, you have any doubts, you can write a letter to me." He told Jonathan a series of instructions, and Jonathan nodded his head directly without saying much. Dumbledore would return to Hogwarts along with Jonathan for the night. Jonathan would pack few clothes and Dumbledore would send him back here tomorrow morning. Jonathan spent the remaining of the Christmas and winter vacation in the House of Flamel learning the alchemy. Even with the fast comprehension that he has, the speed at which he learned is very slow. The books back at Hogwarts that are available for the students are all low-level books. The most advanced information books are safely stored in restricted section. But the book in the hands of Jonathan is the most advanced book with vast amount of knowledge. His learning speed is many times slower compared to when he flipped through the books before. Jonathan doesn't care what is happening back at Hogwarts, as he has his own things to do. While he was learning alchemy at a fast pace, Harry and Ron are rolling in the library, and Harry used the normal invisibility cloak to enter the restricted section. Unfortunately, the normal invisibility cloak did not work as good as the original one. So it would sometimes fail, sometimes did not cover properly, sometimes it would leave his scent for the beasts to notice him. Along with his already clumsy self, things would not go as perfectly as they should have. But still they made no progress. Without the Quidditch practice, as Harry was not selected, things are very boring for Harry. Also, there is this mirror of East. Jonathan really wanted to take a look in that mirror. He wanted to know his deepest desire. But he was sure what he would see in the mirror. Soon the winter vacation is over and Jonathan was sent back to Hogwarts by Nicholas. Before leaving, he specifically told Jonathan to learn more about the basics. In the past few days, Jonathan showed great progress. Nicholas thought that Jonathan has strong foundation or affinity to alchemy. So he taught him at the pace that Jonathan could catch. It was fast and they covered most of the basics. Nicholas, that returned back home, made some small changes to his will. First of all, he gave a little extra fortune to Jonathan. He was marveled by the idea of the goblins of Gringotts managing his wealth for him. He was shocked that Jonathan was very good at financial matter. But he understood that if Jonathan wanted to save his fortune, then he has to learn few tricks. So he directly added the extra fortune to Jonathan along with few safekeeping special materials used in alchemy. They were all sent to the vault of Jonathan directly. It is the vault number 777. It is very lucky for Jonathan to gain this vault. This is not the only wealth he got as during this winter vacation. Cassiopeia Black, that should be his great-grandmother, in some way died without any descendants. So, all of Cassiopeia Black's wealth was also added to Jonathan's wealth. The transfer procedures along with the house elf Cassiopeia Black were all arranged by Creaker and Wiley. They are currently managing things, and Jonathan's grandmother has already talked to the remaining members of Black family before she died. So when they died, all the wealth would flow to Jonathan by specific will. The items procurement and proper handling was done by Creaker and other house elves that are ordered by her. So Jonathan doesn't have to lift a finger to gain the wealth. After returning back from the vacation, Jonathan first met up with Daphne and Pansy. Well, not in the open but secretly. No one was bothered about this. Jonathan took them straight to the room of requirements. Inside of the room appeared to be a beautiful bed and neat arrangements for makeup. The girls blushed looking at the arrangements here. Chapter 40, First Kiss. Inside of the room appeared to be a beautiful bed and neat arrangements for makeup. The girls blushed looking at the arrangements here. Jonathan did not give any time for them to think and kissed Daphne on her lips. This sudden kiss made her resist a little for a moment, but she slowly got in line and reciprocated. On the side, Pansy's face turned red immediately. She was envious that Daphne was able to take Jonathan's first kiss. But she was not bothered by it because she likes Jonathan more. She knows that she has to share Jonathan to get his love. So she decided to take a step back and stand after Daphne. Not physically but mentally, she thinks that Daphne is the main wife while she is Jonathan's little lover or second wife or mistress. She did not like the post, but she has to accept it for Jonathan. After few minutes, Daphne was out of breath and Jonathan let her go to take deep breath. On the other hand, Jonathan looked at Pansy. He can easily tell her thoughts just looking at her face and nervousness. Jonathan spoke to her. "You are not the second wife or lover or mistress, Pansy," Jonathan said and paused for a moment. Pansy's mind immediately filled in the gap that Jonathan took. She thought that Jonathan did not like her and wanted to tell her that she is only a friend. Immediately her eyes turned red and a tear appeared at the edge of her eyes. Jonathan immediately pulled her into his embrace and held her tightly. Looking straight into her face, he kissed her straight away, taking her by surprise. She is very quickly to reciprocate. Even though she acts like a spoiled little brat and unreasonable woman, some things she is very gentle inside. Daphne on the side recovered and she has a smile on her face looking at Pansy making out with Jonathan. She has a complicated look and she is still in the embrace of Jonathan. After few minutes she stopped kissing Pansy, letting her breath, and then spoke. "You both are my women of the same level. Daphne was close to me since childhood, but you won over the gap with your trust and obsessive love. I have a magic that can let me see how much a person loves me. You both are at the same level. You deeply love me to the point of obsession. I cannot hurt either of you, leaving one of you and loving only one of you. So you have to share me, but my love is endless for both of you," Jonathan said, and he hugged them both tightly. After that they actively kissed Jonathan for a while. Jonathan did not make any further actions other than kissing them. Before leaving they kissed on his cheeks close to his lips at the same time and left the room of requirements to their dorm rooms. This did not end here. Jonathan smiled sweetly and went to the library. There is another person that is waiting to get his kiss. But this is going to be a bumpy raid. In the library the trio of Harry's group searched for the name Nicholas Flamel. They did not find it even now. Or to be precise, they did not see the name of Nicholas Flamel in the card they Neville for the chocolate frog. But that would happen few days before the Quidditch match on February 22nd. Since it was so long, Jonathan has plenty of time to put his fingers at the right place to get what he wants. Well, Harry is not in Quidditch, so they might find it a little early. Also Hermione, guilty consciousness person, she is thinking of a way to apologize to Jonathan. But after going through Jonathan's plan, she would not think that he is not a good guy. With that, Jonathan went to the library to study some materials. The trio of Harry's group is fiddling their own things. Jonathan did not even bother to look at them or even Hermione. She noticed him when he arrived and her thoughts are complicated. After a while Jonathan left the library and Hermione thought that it was a good time to meet with Jonathan and apologize for some things before. Also she has to thank him for saving her before during the troll incident. With that in mind, she told Harry and Ron that she would be back in a while and left the library hot on heels behind Jonathan. Ron and Harry are too engrossed in searching for Nicholas that they did not notice this particular incident. Well, it was not Jonathan's fault. Jonathan did not go back to Gryffindor, instead he went all the way to the room of requirements. Hermione was naturally a very curious woman. So she followed Jonathan to see where he is going. When she saw that a strange door suddenly appeared out of nowhere from the castle wall, has made her shocked. Jonathan entered into the door and the door did not close as he kept it open for Hermione to enter inside, flowing him out of curiosity. Well, since the door is open, she wanted to take a peek inside before going back quickly. So she entered into the room slowly with curiosity like a cat. With her fluffy hair she really looked like a cat. But as soon as she entered into the room, the door behind her vanished, leaving her no way out. She was both shocked and confused. But the braveness inside her was still there and she moved forward. Jonathan did not create a complicated room. It was a normal room where there is a reading place, a rattan chair giving a strange harmony for a peaceful environment. Jonathan was sitting on the chair with a book on his hand as reading without caring about anything. Hermione on the other hand was dazed looking at his handsome appearance along with the surrounding setting. Chapter 41, I want your first kiss to the price for the information. Jonathan was sitting on the chair with a book on his hand as reading without caring about anything. Hermione on the other hand was dazed looking at his handsome appearance along with the surrounding setting. Jonathan specifically created this to boost his charm. Having more charm would always have good persuasive power. Similarly, sympathy, pity also has similar effects. But right now he is not going to act to gain sympathy or pity. Instead he is going to show her his fangs and gain something good from her for information. He is going to start a dark business with Hermione. Well, things would start with simple things, but as they escalate they would change in form. It might even lead to dark love. He is going to teach her that main principle of alchemy. That is equivalent exchange. But many people would confuse about one thing, that is the equivalence. What is the equivalence? Most would say that the equivalence is the value of the thing that one wanted to obtain in proportions. But that is not true. For example, if you live by the side of a river the water is free, but if you are in a desert then the value of the water increase exponentially. Similarly, the value of the things would change when the demand of the specific object or information is very high or there is a sense of urgency. Hermione looked around coming out of her dazed state and found that there is nothing wrong here. It should be one of the mysteries of Hogwarts. It is really a peaceful place to study. She likes to study and this place fits the bill perfectly. It is more than perfect in her thoughts. While she is thinking, she came forward collecting her strength to speak with Jonathan. She wanted to apologize for her behavior in the past few days and also thank him for saving her from the troll. When she came forward from the place she was previously hiding, Jonathan put down his book and looked at Hermione with a smile. For some reason Hermione has a bad feeling looking into the eyes and smile of Jonathan right now. But she did not think about it and said, "Jonathan, I am really sorry for my behavior before and thank you for saving me from the troll that day. If it was not for you, Harry and Ron would have died that day." She spoke looking straight into the eyes of Jonathan, wanted to know how he reacts to her. Jonathan did not show any change in expression from the start to the end. Finally, when she stopped, he spoke. "It is okay, Miss Granger, I can understand. I have already predicted that you hate me because of others' words, don't you? See, it has happened. Also, let me make one more thing clear, Miss Granger. I am really not a good guy. But I am not a bad guy either. I am a simple businessman. If you want anything you can exchange with me for an equivalent price that I evaluate, and we can exchange if we both agree on the terms. This would be the best way for me to be with other people, I think." Hermione, when she heard that Jonathan called her Miss Granger instead of Hermione. She knows that Jonathan is still angry even though he did not show that on his face, and there is a clear wedge between them. Also, when he said that he is okay with her apology, she felt a little relieved. But, when she heard his later part of the words, that is about his nature and taking everything as business, has made her sad. She thought that because everyone is avoiding him because of his father has made him like this. At least that is what she thought. But no one is actually avoiding him. Instead it was Harry and that are being avoided even now because of their pervert reputation still going strong. Originally she should leave here as soon as possible, but she suddenly remembered that Jonathan also reads many books. She wanted to know about Nicholas Flamel. Since Jonathan wanted to do everything as business, then she would contact him through business. She did not have any thoughts of getting close to Jonathan. Instead she wanted to help a friend in sadness. She thought that what she is doing is a noble thing. So she immediately asked, "Jonathan, do you know who Nicholas Flamel is?" She did not use the family name of Jonathan like he is calling her Miss Granger so that he would feel close to her. Jonathan looked at her and said, "Nicholas Flamel, yes, I know him. I will give you the information for a price." Before Jonathan completed his words, Hermione spoke. "I will complete your homework for a week as price. So can you tell me about Nicholas Flamel?" Jonathan smiled amusingly and said, "Miss Granger, you should be joking, right? I have seen your people getting your heads burst open to search all the books to find about Nicholas Flamel. You are telling me that the cost of this information is as simple as completing my homework for a week. You are not the one that would decide the price. I am the one to decide the price. Based on my analysis and all your anxious search of all the books in the library, the information is very valuable. So the price of the information will also change." Hermione looked at Jonathan and asked him straight, "What is the price, Do you want money and other things? Jonathan smiled and replied. Miss Granger, I want your first lip-to-lip kiss as the price for the information. Hermione was immediately shocked and blushed, glaring at Jonathan. But Jonathan did not care about her glare and said, I know it is a big price for you to decide on immediately. Chapter 42, Hermione returned to Jonathan. But Jonathan did not care about her glare and said, I know it is a big price for you to decide on immediately. So go back and think about it. Maybe you would find the information you are looking for. If not, you can always come to look for me. Right before this, Jonathan received a choice from the villain system. Ding! Host, please make your choice. Choice 1. Host has to gain the first kiss of the protagonist's woman by any means necessary. Rewards would be decided based on the person that gives their first kiss to the host. Choice 2. Host would not receive the first kiss of the protagonist's woman. The women of the host would accidentally give kisses to other people. This is the first time Jonathan saw that the system giving penalty or punishment like thing. He doesn't like that. He is possessive in nature and do not like anyone stealing kisses from his women. For this reason he gave kisses to both Pansy and Daphne as soon as he came to the school. But that did not change from the fact that he did not complete the choice. Hermione stomped her foot on the floor and cursed Jonathan with an angry face. Then she wanted to leave, but she don't know how to. Jonathan simply pointed at a wall and a door appeared out of nowhere. I will give you this information for free. This is called Room of Requirements, and if you want to leave here, all you have to do is to think of an exit that you wanted to leave from here. The door of your imagination appears and you can leave from here. Jonathan said, and then moved his eyes back to the book, no longer looking at Hermione that has a red face. No one knows why her face is red. It might be because of the embarrassment or because of anger. After that she left here and returned to the common room. When she came to the common room, she found that Harry and Ron are waiting for her. She did not say the price for the information but only told them that Jonathan knows about Nicholas Flamel. Harry immediately said, Did he tell you about Nicholas Flamel? Hermione shook her head. I knew that he is a bad guy. He would not help the good people. Ron continued to jump in and started to run off his annoying mouth. Hermione was silent while Harry looked at her and said, Hermione, he would not speak to us or reply to us. You are the only one he speaks to. So you have to try your best to get the information from him. This is to know the secret of the Snape and save everyone in the school. If Jonathan was standing in this place, he would have laughed his ass off. The reason for this is simple. Harry and Ron are 12-year-old brats and they are not even in their teenage. They are trying to save Hogwarts and everyone. It is quite funny when you think about it. Do they think that they are the only intelligent people in the entire world? If Harry did not act brave and go to hiding place of the Philosopher's Stone, Voldemort would never be able to get it. Fortunately he has his mother's protection and was saved because of that. So he did not solve this problem but increased it exponentially to the point of threatening his life and the life of his friends. He even calls himself a hero. He is not a hero, instead he is a moron. Jonathan would not associate with people like these. But there is one thing that Jonathan was happy about. Because these people are morons, Jonathan can have some good time with their women easily. Hermione bit her lower lip with the words of Harry. She wanted to talk with Jonathan again to see if she will be able to get the information using something different other than her first kiss. So she left the common room again. The curfew time has already started and the fat lady left as soon as Hermione got out of the room. Jonathan was planning on staying at the Room of Requirements, which is more peaceful than the dorms of Gryffindor. He has to complete studying of the alchemy book that Nicholas gave him. Hermione that found that the fat lady left when she came out was shocked. She did not have the way to enter into the common room even if knows the password. If she was caught outside she would be punished. She started to curse Harry and Ron for telling her to go now and herself for her impulsive behavior to leave the common room in the night. She moved slowly step by step like a cat and came to the location of the room or requirements. She knows how to leave but she doesn't know how to enter the room or requirements. She started to remember the information on how to enter the Room of Requirements through the books she read before. She moved around the corridor 3 times to finally let the Room of Requirements to reveal itself. Jonathan did not set any restrictions for the entry requirement as he was the first one to enter. So others can enter freely. Hermione was able to enter the same room as before. She looked around carefully. Jonathan noticed her but did not respond to her presence. Instead he was engrossed in reading the book in his hand. This made Hermione curious. Jonathan, what is the book you are studying? She asked, forgetting their conversation before. Jonathan looked at her and said. Well, I have newly become the disciple of the person you are looking for before. He gave me this book to read to learn the basics. As for other information I cannot tell before the payment is done. Chapter 43, Hermione's First Kiss. Well, I have newly become the disciple of the person you are looking for before. He gave me this book to read to learn the basics. As for other information I cannot tell before the payment is done. Since you came here again means that Harry and Ron should have told you some righteous-sounding words and sent you here, right? Well, it is their loss that they did not recognize a beauty like you. Also, it is my gain getting the first kiss from a beauty like you. Jonathan said their words to push Hermione further into thinking that she is beautiful and her first kiss are very valuable. Even though Hermione is intelligent, when it comes to receiving compliments all the women have same thoughts. They would easily get into good mood with compliments. It is also true for her as it reduced her anger towards Ron many times after he praised her intelligence and beauty in the original plot. Jonathan is thinking of the same thing and playing cards according to the information he knows. Hermione's face became red after she was praised being a beauty. She felt that Jonathan is really interested in her and don't know how to show his heart to her. So he is playing these tricks to gain her attention. She has seen Daphne and Pansy with Jonathan before. But these thoughts did not appear on her mind right now because it was clouded by the praises from Jonathan about her beauty. Also, she was angry towards Ron and Harry for asking her to do whatever it takes to get the information. All these things combined and she made the decision on impulse. Okay, I will give you my first kiss. She said the words with blushing red face but did not move forward. Jonathan has to take the initiative to get her first kiss. Well, Jonathan intended to do just that. Pushing her more would not give any positive impact on her. But still he has to let her take another half a step forward mentally to balance out the things for smooth sailing in the future. Come over here then. Jonathan said as Hermione bit her lower lip and could not see straight into the eyes of Jonathan. She simply thought. Let's get this over with quickly and get the information. She thought and moved forward to the rocking chair. Jonathan did not stand up and pulled her onto his lap. The book in his hand was placed on the table on the side. As soon as she sat on the table she looked astounded towards Jonathan, wanting to say something. She opened her mouth. Jonathan to the right moment to lock her lips, and her previous quick kiss plans has gone down the drain. Jonathan's hands are holding her head so she would not break free immediately. But Jonathan did not apply any pressure on her head. It was her thought of comfort that she is not taking the initiative to kiss and only getting kissed. But her tongue and lips moved automatically and she learnt on how to kiss along with the movements of Jonathan automatically. It is like fish learning to swim. Well, they already know about that, but they still have to take the initiative. So now she took the initiative and she started to enjoy the kiss. They kissed till Hermione is out of breath. Jonathan was fine because his body was improved and can hold breath for a long time. Han, hum. Han, hum. Han, hum. She leaned forward and rested on the chest of Jonathan while panting. Her mind is dazed and she was aroused too. Well, she has entered teenage and girls mature faster both physically and mentally. Their understanding is also much deeper than most men when it comes to specific things. She panted for a while before returning to her right mind. She immediately stood up from the lap of Jonathan. But she tripped and lost her balance because of her sudden actions. Ahem. Jonathan caught her hand at the right time and pulled her back into his lap. Don't worry, beauty. My lap is quite soft for you to sit. Stay here before you got your body right. Also, you wanted to know the information, right? Sit peacefully and I will tell you the information. After that you can leave. Well, if you like it you can stay with me too. As for the other things like kissing again, it is your choice. Jonathan said, and Hermione blushed again. She was really about to fall. If she fell as it is, then her nose would really get a major hit. Even though she did not care about her beauty, she really doesn't want to damage her face. Jonathan saved her, so as reward she decided to sit on his lap for a little while. Anyway, she has to listen to the information and also get her body together after the mesmerizing kiss. When she thought about this her mind went a little blank again. But she snapped out of it. She blushed with red face and the redness reached all the way to her ears. Information. She said with fluttering words. Jonathan smiled inside but did not show that out and said to Hermione. The information has received the price I wanted, so I will tell you. Nicholas Flamel is an alchemist. He is famous for creating the Philosopher's Stone. This is most probably the thing Harry and Ron are rocking their heads about. As for my case, I got him as a teacher because he liked my talent. He gave me a book related to his research fundamentals to study and understand. That is all. Jonathan said everything into the ear of Hermione while blowing the wind into her ear, making her more and more aroused. Her face is all red because of the air that Jonathan blew into her ear. She felt tingly all over. She liked the feeling she is getting. Chapter 44, Disappointed Hermione. She felt tingly all over. She liked the feeling she is getting. But she snapped back again from the feeling when Jonathan stopped talking. She was so much embarrassed that she directly ran away from him, going out of the room of requirements and went straight to the Gryffindor common room. Fortunately, the fat lady returned at that time. She is having a beauty sleep right now. Hermione disturbed her and took few minutes to remember the password to enter into the common room. The fat lady was annoyed, but Hermione is not in a state to think about that. Her face is hot and she was embarrassed. Well, what can anyone say? She is a girl that hit the puberty and it is the time for first love to come. She thought that Harry and Ron would be out waiting for her. Unexpectedly, there is no one in the common room, instead they went to sleep. She was severely disappointed with Harry and Ron, but since they are friends she let that go. She went to sleep. But she was unable to sleep, as when she closed her eyes, the scene of her sitting on the lap of Jonathan and kissing him appeared in her mind more and more. She was having a hard time thinking of all that. She did not sleep all night because of the wild fantasies in her mind. Her eyes were red early in the morning next day. The Quidditch time has started. It is February 20th and in 2 days there is a Quidditch match between Gryffindor and Hufflepuff. That is why the people in the Gryffindor room are a little hyped. Even though they lost to Slytherin, they are sure that they can win against Hufflepuff. Hermione went to speak with Harry and Ron. But they are not in the mood to learn about that. They are more interested in knowing about the situation of Quidditch. Hermione, with her red swollen eyes from lack of sleep, stomped her feet and left with anger. For this match Snape is not the referee. Well, Harry is not participating. So there is no need for him to do anything out of order in this situation. Things went on normally without much hitch. After 2 days the match was over and Harry and Ron got back to Hermione to know about Nicholas Flamel. During the match Ron and Neville got into a fight with Draco and Neville got some good beating, enough to land him in the hospital wing. Fortunately, with a narrow margin the Gryffindor won against Hufflepuff. Hermione bit her lower lip, thinking that she has sacrificed her first kiss to Jonathan for this information. But she did not receive any appreciation from neither Harry nor Ron. She did not tell them about the price, but only told them about the information of Nicholas. Immediately Neville, on the side covered in bandages, showed the cards in his hand that he got from Chocolate Frog packs. Hermione was dazed to find that Nicholas Flamel can be found so easily. She felt that she was cheated off her first kiss by Jonathan. But she calmed down, as she cannot show this in front of Harry and Ron. Right then Jonathan appeared with a smile and grinned towards Hermione. She glared at him for a moment, but her cheeks turned red when Jonathan licked his lips. Knowing this, Harry along with Ron and Hermione moved out of this place and wanted to meet with Hagrid to speak. But they discovered that Snape is going towards the Forbidden Forest. So they followed him sneakily. They got the invisibility cloak with them, as Harry brought this to make things more on the safe side. Snape meets Quirrell and they speak of the Philosopher's Stone. Harry thinks that Snape is trying to force Quirrell to help him get the stone so he can get rich, to the alarm of both Ron and Hermione, who fear Quirrell will talk. With that the trio got the information. They quickly left there to meet with Hagrid. Jonathan, on the other hand, is also following them in invisibility cloak because there is something important he wanted to do with the information. Or to be more precise, he can get more kisses from Hermione while planning some future traps for Harry and Ron. They went into the hut of Hagrid while Jonathan stood by the side at the window with invisibility cloak. They could not listen to the conversation happening inside the hut of Hagrid. Well, Jonathan did not care, as he knows Hagrid, who confirms the stone, is being kept at Hogwarts. Hermione charms him into talking about the enchantments used to guard it. Fluffy, the three-headed dog, is Hagrid's. Along with it there are enchantments from Professors Sprout, Flitwick, McGonagall, Quirrell, and Snape. After gaining the information, Harry complains about the high temperature in Hagrid's hut. They then discovered that he has a Norwegian ridgeback dragon egg, which he wants to name Norbert once it has hatched. The group left back to the castle and continued with their studies. Jonathan managed to score extra points in every class, including the class of Snape. This landed him with enough points to let Gryffindor win, even if they did not win the Quidditch match till the end. With his popularity boost that he got from the system, along with various other things, Jonathan becomes very popular in Hogwarts. He also made enough points on equal level of the entire Gryffindor house combined made. This things shocked many people, which added to his popularity. Jonathan on the other hand did not get his eyes on the top of his head and appeared very natural. Professor Flitwick did not approach Jonathan just yet. The spells of the first year can be learned easily. He has to observe Jonathan more to make a move. Professor McGonagall also recognized his talent in transfiguration, so she was also paying attention to Jonathan during this time. Chapter 45, 30 Kisses as Compensation. He has to observe Jonathan more to make a move. Professor McGonagall also recognized his talent in transfiguration, so she was also paying attention to Jonathan during this time. But the first years would only be recognized and tested. As they move on to the third year, their true talent would come out. That is also the time when they choose the subjects that they wanted to take as electives. They will wait for that time before making the final choice. Jonathan also noticed their gaze, but he did not open up and waited for them to come to him. This way the amount of impact would increase and he would have enough space for maneuver. It is April and Jonathan kept an eye on the movements of Trio. Hermione did not try to look into the eyes of Jonathan, as she always remembers her first kiss with him when she looks at him. During this time Jonathan has kissing time with Daphne and Pansy every day during his free time. Their bond got closer and closer. They did not take any more steps other than kissing, but that is enough to intoxicate them. One day Jonathan found that Hagrid is looking for books on how to feed and raise a dragon. Jonathan found that in the library and talked to him about that. Hagrid tried his best to control himself not to speak about his secret. But he still spills the things because he held the book too tightly, attracting the attention of Madame Pants. This was noticed by Hermione and she came along with Harry to ease up the things. They know what Hagrid is looking for. Jonathan only whispered to Hermione and left without even looking at Harry. Harry did not understand why Jonathan did not answer him or anything. But he doesn't care and know that Jonathan is arrogant. Hermione later came to the room of requirements with a blushed face as Jonathan called her here. She knows that Jonathan is going to get another kiss from her in the name of keeping secrets. She is angry, but she is anticipating about the kiss too. Jonathan was still there in the same position reading a book. "What do you want?" she asked a little arrogantly. "Miss Granger, you should understand your situation. Also you have to sit on my lap to speak to me. Remember, I am in the power right now. So you have to listen to my requirements to keep your secrets. Also I have recorded our first kiss before to keep it as a good memory, you know." Jonathan told her as he showed a crystal orb that showed the picture of them kissing. In it Hermione is actually more active. Hermione looked at the image and blushed. She quickly came close to Jonathan in order to snatch the crystal ball. Jonathan actually let her. She directly wanted threw that on the ground but stopped because of two reasons. First is she really doing want to drop the crystal ball, erasing her first kiss memory. Second is that she doubted on how easy she was able to snatch the crystal ball is and felt that Jonathan might have other copies. When she thought about this, stopping her dropping gesture, Jonathan spoke. "Bingo! You thought it right. I have many copies of that stored specifically. So losing one would not be much of a problem for me. You are really smart, you know that. That is why I wanted to speak to you instead of those morons. Now be a good girl and sit on my lap. Also hand over the crystal ball carefully, or you can keep it if you like," Jonathan said, looking at Hermione. When he said that she is intelligent, a small grin crept on her pink lips, but she immediately hid it well. She made an expression as if she did not have any choice and sat on the lap of Jonathan, and Jonathan pulled her into his embrace as his hands were free already. Hermione stiffened for a moment when Jonathan embraced her suddenly. "Now Miss Granger, we come to the main point. I know that Hagrid got a dragon egg, the thing in the forbidden area that you shouldn't bother about but trying to figure out anyway. But these things are secrets that can land you and you two moronic self-centered righteous friends Harry and Ron with a good amount of punishment. Also it would give me some extra house points, improving my fame. I presume that you don't want this to happen. So you have to compensate for my losses. Let us assume that I would get around 20 house points for this and a lot of fame from the students. What do you think of the price of 30 lip kisses, not pecking kisses? You don't have to give them all to me on the same day. We can divide the number to 30 days. If there is something I will notify you beforehand. What do you think of this deal?" Jonathan asked while holding Hermione tightly in his arms, making her dizzy from all the close contact. Also the concept Jonathan spoke is enough to make her blush till she was as red as Ron when he was embarrassed. But she did not have a choice. Well, that is what she thought at that moment to convince her mind that want to kiss Jonathan. She is smart, but that smartness is only related to studies but not the reality. She did not have to worry about anything as there is Dumbledore behind Hagrid to clean up his mess in this particular situation. If they did not meddle in and Dumbledore really found out about this matter, then he would have really become cautious about the Philosopher's Stone. But things did not go that way, and this led to the current situation in a future where Harry faced with Professor Quirrell. Chapter 46, The Secret of Ancestry Choice. If they did not meddle in and Dumbledore really found out about this matter, then he would have really become cautious about the Philosopher's Stone. But things did not go that way, and this led to the current situation in a future where Harry faced with Professor Quirrell. Or you can saw the remnant soul of Voldemort. Things would have solved more easily. Not only they meddle in the matter that they should not have, but they even cause many people to have headache. That is what Harry Potter did. After that she accepted to Jonathan's deal, glaring at him. But her eyes have different feeling to them instead of being angry. She was anxious and expectant about Jonathan. Well, she trusts Jonathan that he would not cheat his words when it comes to trade. With that they kissed again and did not part for 5 whole minutes. The kiss this time is more passionate with their tongues intertwined, and her tongue was played by Jonathan, causing her to be on the passive side. With the kiss done, Hermione was reluctant and wanted to continue. But she came back to her senses and blushed for her thought of wanting to kiss Jonathan. After that she quickly left this place. Jonathan told her that he wanted to speak to Harry later and wanted to meet him in the school grounds tomorrow morning. Also he told her not to tell this to that snot-nosed brat Ron that has loud mouth and tendency to speak about this to everyone. Hermione glared at Jonathan again. It is not because Jonathan scolded Ron, but because Jonathan called in Harry. She thought that Jonathan is going to make a deal with Harry too. She doesn't know what the deal is, but her thoughts are running wild. Jonathan that looked her then as she looked at him with weird expression, making him understood that she misunderstood. Don't worry, I am not into men. I like beautiful women. Hermione, that got her thoughts read by Jonathan, blushed again and ran away like a frightened rabbit. Jonathan did not care about these matters as he was busy with his own things. During this time he met with the Phoenix few times as it came to him on its own. Jonathan did not understand what it came to him and be intimate with him. During his study about the artifacts and materials on his hand, he took out a box that was sealed with a puzzle-like thing from his mother. It was also in the collection, but he never took it out as he was busy with other things. He thought that there are some airtight precious materials stored in it. He wanted to check what is inside really quickly. Anyway, he has to know what is inside so that he can use it when necessary. He took out the box that was previously placed inside the expansion bag by the house elves. But when he touched the box with his hand to take it out of the expansion bag, his eyes lost their focus and the light in them. His hands moved automatically, taking the box out of the expansion bag, and started to solve the puzzle as if he was possessed. His fingers moved at a fast speed, and few of the puzzle pieces has sharp thorns that got his blood stuck to the box that seems to be made out of wood. The blood that came out was sucked by the box and it started to glow with green light. Also the thorns on the box vanished along with the wounds on his finger. Jonathan did not have any consciousness of his actions. He was looking at the thing his body is doing on its own because he has a system and he exists independently from all kinds of soul-tampering things. He was very anxious, thinking that his body was being taken over by some old monster or something. But when the puzzle was solved and the green light appeared, he got his senses back to him. The wooden box opened, showing an old piece of scroll made of leather but not parchment. There is also a pendant made of pure crystal which is oddly similar to the Deadly Hallows symbol that Xenophilius Lovegood had with him in the original series. But the cloak, the wand, and the stone symbols are oddly strange and more complete, giving an ancient feeling. When Jonathan touched the pendant, he felt a strange wave of energy and information entering his mind. Immediately the villain system gave out a choice. Ding! Host has stumbled upon an ancestry secret. Emergency choice initiated. Time stop is being applied. Host, please make your choice. Emergency choice. Choice 1, accept the information from the symbol and your secret ancestry. Host would be able to gain the benefits of the ancestry and its inheritance. Host has to bear the consequences of this ancestry too. Choice 2, system would destroy the information along with the ancestry details. Host will lose his ancestry. Host doesn't have to bear the consequences of this ancestry. Jonathan felt that the time around him stopped and Reed thought. He did not expect something magical to happen to him right now about his ancestry. It said that he has to bear the consequences. Naturally, if it was the protagonist, then it would have been solved easily. But things are different when it comes to him being a villain. He was a little reluctant to lose something good. He wanted to read the leather scroll on the side. But the system would not let him. Unless he makes his choice, he would not be able to move or do anything. He sighed and decided to take on the risk. Anyway, he has his way of protection. With that, he chose the first option. Immediately the time started to move and the information entered into his mind slowly from the pendant. Chapter 47, Tricking Harry into Unbreakable Vow. With that, he chose the first option. Immediately the time started to move and the information entered into his mind slowly from the pendant. All that appeared in his mind is a way of ritual with the pendant. As for the leather scroll on the side is actually the high-grade magic circle that is required for the ritual. It is not possible to draw it on the ground as the amount of materials required is astronomical. Instead, the mode of magic circle is changed to a scroll made of high-class materials. Jonathan opened the scroll and checked it out. A messy magic circle is drawn inside with numerous runes. Just looking at those runes has made Jonathan dizzy for some time. Jonathan immediately closed the scroll and new information appeared in his mind. For the ritual start, he requires few things. One is the tears of phoenix and the other is the venom of basilisk. These are the main ingredients while the supporting ingredients required from various magical beasts. Jonathan has most of them except for the phoenix tears and the venom of basilisk. He can get phoenix tears when the phoenix fox comes to him again. As for the basilisk venom, it is not a problem as he can get them either by waiting for a year or by buying things through black market. With that, he was in a happy mood. He placed the pendant back in along with the scroll, closed the box and put it back inside the expansion bag. With that stored, Jonathan sighed and decided to do some research about this symbol and other things. He knows that basic plot but he don't know the real things that are happening in this world. Jonathan has to always remind his mind again and again, that he was in the real world and not a movie or game. If it was the movie then the concentration will be on the protagonist. But this is real world and the concentration on many things other than the protagonist. Everything and everyone has background stories and hidden stories. These things are the most dangerous that can directly change the plot direction. Voldemort that would fight against old people, weak people, and children could not even be considered as a proper villain. The other people fear him because he kills without blinking an eye. But is killing other really an act of villainy? There are many people and even countries in the world that would kill innocent people in the name of justice and get benefits from them shamelessly. When the other retaliates, they would even accuse the victims as terrorists. Compared to them, Voldemort is not even a kid being a villain. The title Dark Lord is more like a show than a real title. Jonathan thought and left here to go back to the dormitory. On the next day he was able to meet with Harry privately. The location was set by Hermione. Harry was very curious and wanted to know why Jonathan wanted to speak to him. Jonathan usually ignores him and Ron completely without even saying a word. Now he wanted to speak to Harry, this made him anxious, curious, and cautious. They met at a distance away from the hut of Hagrid near the castle wall. There is another person that is watching the situation from afar. He heard the conversation between Hermione and Harry before. He was very disappointed that his friends did not tell him about the important thing. So he tried to eavesdrop on what Harry and Jonathan are talking. Unfortunately, he was unable to hear anything because of the different direction of the headwind. Jonathan chose this location specifically for this matter. On the other hand, Jonathan looked straight at Harry for a good while and spoke first. "Hello, Harry. Actually, I did not want to speak with you about anything as it would only cause too much problem for me and nonsense. So I will get straight to the point. As I have previously told to Hermione, I am neither a good guy nor a bad guy. Instead, I am a businessman. I know the information about the dragon egg that Hagrid is hiding and wanting to hatch. If you don't want me to tell this information to anyone or to be exact report to this matter to anyone, I want some compensation. Hermione has already paid her part of the contribution to my compensation. We have come to a deal. Now it was your turn. I presume you don't want to see Hagrid feel sad and the price that Hermione paid go to waste, right? If not, I want you to form a deal with me. The deal is simple. In the future, I will ask you to give the credit of a certain thing to me completely. You have to give me the credit to that thing completely and tell to anyone that it was done by me or saved by me in both in my presence and outside my presence. If you accept for this deal, we can make an unbreakable vow in the name of magic. You see, I do not believe anyone, it is especially so after learning things through hard lessons. My time is precious, so make your choice quickly." Jonathan said with a smile from start to the end without caring about the change in the expression of Harry. Harry thought for a few moments as his naive brain could not come up with the answers to the schemes of Jonathan. So he finally accepted to the offer of Jonathan to make an unbreakable vow. As for how Jonathan knows how to perform unbreakable vow is not a big story. He learned it from his grandmother saying that he would not trust other people and for his safety he has to learn this skill. With his pestering and reasoning she taught him the basics. With his comprehension and understanding in the later years. Chapter 48, You would shout that you love Victor Crumb if anyone asks you this question. With his pestering and reasoning she taught him the basics. With his comprehension and understanding in the later years he completely understood the spell and the procedure. So he quickly formed the unbreakable vow with Harry with the said conditions. Also Jonathan added a condition that Harry could not say the truth about what they spoke or the contents of the vow to anyone. But he can still lie to others about the contents. With the vow complete Harry left from that place back to the castle. He felt that Jonathan is quite strange at the same time the previous sympathy is gone. It is a mixture of emotions. With Harry left, the person that is hiding and watching the entire situation hid more deeply while not showing his face to Harry. After Harry left Ron came out and he came straight towards Jonathan. Hey you, stop! What did you talk to Harry and Hermione? What is happening here I want to know. If you don't tell me, then I will report this to Professor McGonagall that you are plotting and threatening Harry and Hermione. Ha 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 ha. Jonathan looked at Ron and laughed out loud looking at Ron like an idiot. If he really reported it then it was Harry and Hermione along with Hagrid that would be implicated. Jonathan can still escape without receiving any damage. But Jonathan has other plans for Ron so Jonathan directly spoke. Well since you insist. I know that Hagrid got a dragon egg illegally. So I wanted to report it. Both Harry and Hermione are trying their best to stop me from reporting. So in order to stop me they made deals with me. Since you want to report, I would not stop you as it is not in my deal. But since you came to me anyway, I want you to make a deal with me. If not I would report about the dragon egg in Hagrid's hands. Because of you Hagrid would be implicated. The efforts of your friends Hermione and Harry would go down the drain. Now think about it. Do you want to make a deal with me? Jonathan asked with a smile that was very gentle and beautiful making him more handsome. But for Ron it appeared like the smile of a devil. He never thought that his curiosity would land him in such a situation. He did not have a choice in this matter. His face turned red from the embarrassment and anger. He smacked his own face and then said. What do you want from me? Jonathan smiled again and said. I want you to make an unbreakable vow with the conditions that I am going to tell you. First condition is you would shout that you love Victor Crumb if anyone asks you about that. Second is that you would unconditionally support the wishes of the woman in your family and you love. Third is that you would tell all the bad points and secrets of your brothers to the woman that they are seeing. These are the 3 conditions that I want you to make an unbreakable vow to me. Jonathan said with a smile. Ron knew that there is nothing wrong with these conditions. But he was unable to perceive the loopholes in these conditions. He is really stupid. Jonathan did not tell them either. With that Ron made the unbreakable vow with Jonathan and the conditions for Jonathan are still the same like he had with Harry. He would not report about the dragon egg that Hagrid is having. With that Ron left as well and Jonathan went to the lake to practice his painting skill again. He has a fixed routine every day to complete certain number of things to keep him body perfectly fit. During this time the dragon egg was hatched and Hagrid named the dragon as Norbert. Well Jonathan doesn't care about these things but they were found out by Draco Malfoy. They saw that Jonathan did not make a move during the entire time. Every day Hermione would come to the room of requirements and kisses Jonathan on his lips. The more they kissed the more Hermione liked it. Jonathan tried new things every day. Other than Hermione he would kiss Daphne and Pansy every day. After few days the lips of the 3 girls are a little swollen and gave them a unique charm. Harry and Ron were attracted to Hermione's swollen lips. When they asked her she simply told them that she ate some spicy hot food. Well they believed it as there are other things to worry about. On the other hand Pansy and Daphne were questioned by other girls and Draco. They gave the same excuse but most of the girls did not believe that. As for Draco he is an idiot on the same level as Ron. So he too believed their words. Ron on the other hand was bitten by dragon and he started to rest from that day in the hospital wing. The hiding and sending of the dragon to Ron's brother Charlie's friends was carried out by Hermione and Harry alone. The invisibility cloak that Harry has is not the perfect one. So they can be caught at any time. But the luck of the protagonist activated saving them from trouble of getting caught along with the dragon. They got themselves detention from Professor McGonagall along with Draco that reported them. This time Neville was not a part of what they did and he was not punished because Jonathan helped him from doing stupid things. During this time Jonathan helped Neville many times when he forgets the password to enter the Gryffindor common room. Because of Jonathan he doesn't have to sleep outside on the floor. This has happened many times and Neville was grateful for Jonathan. So he respects the words of Jonathan to some extent and did not do things that would cause trouble for him or Jonathan. Chapter 49, Hermione was discovered by Pansy and Daphne. This has happened many times and Neville was grateful for Jonathan. So he respects the words of Jonathan to some extent and did not do things that would cause trouble for him or Jonathan. Also Jonathan taught Neville some of the things he knows, making him more intelligent, at least in the studies. Right now Neville is actually doing much better than both Ron and Harry in studies. Today is May 9th and the dragon should be taken by Charlie's friends. Neville did not get any detention, but both Hermione and Harry along with Draco go the detention. Well, Jonathan told Hermione that Draco might be planning something on her when they are done kissing and hugging. But she is stubborn and did not listen to Jonathan's words. Now she regrets it. She doesn't want any bad marks on her academic record. She wanted to be a good girl, but she is not the listening type. Now she got 2 bad marks because of the troll incident and now this curfew breaking incident. She can only sigh about this matter. On the next day when she came to the room of requirements, she came face to face with Daphne and Pansy that are just leaving with swollen lips and flushed faces. Hermione, who have experienced this already, knows that they kissed Jonathan inside the room of requirements. Also they seem to be together and did not have any conflict of interest or problem of sharing Jonathan between them. When they looked at Hermione that is actually going towards the room of requirements, they were startled. They thought that Hermione came to investigate. So they first left to a distance and observed from the turn of the corridor to see where Hermione is going. When Hermione entered into the room of requirements, they followed behind her and entered the room of requirements too. The scene inside has shocked them. Hermione willingly sat on the lap of Jonathan with pouting face and asked, "Did you just kiss Daphne and Pansy?" Jonathan was not surprised as he planned the current situation. Jonathan spoke with a smile. "Yep, they are my women that are deeply in love with me. Of course they came here to get their goodnight kisses. They are here every day right before you and left before you. Don't you notice them?" Jonathan asked with a knowing smile. Hermione looked into the eyes of Jonathan straight for a moment and asked, "Then what about me?" Jonathan smiled again and said, "Miss Granger, did you ever say that you love me? We are doing a business deal and we both accepted to the price. Don't tell me that you developed feelings for me. If you did, you have to tell them to me directly, just like Daphne and Pansy did. Also, if you really love me, then you should be willing to share me with other women. But of course, you have to make me fall in love with you first. Now be a good girl and think about what you wanted to do. As for the current situation, you should kiss me, right? Also, don't you always say that you hate kissing me? How come you suddenly changed?" Jonathan asked and then kissed Hermione, turning her mind blank. Both Daphne and Pansy that looked at the incident don't know how to react. But there is one thing for certain, that they accept Jonathan and his words clearly stated that he loves them. So they are happy with that. Hermione, after kissing Jonathan, regained her senses. She pouted her lips and stomped her feet on the ground. Then she left here angrily without saying anything to Jonathan. She muttered few bad words at Jonathan and left quickly, returning to her dorm. She started to roll on her bed, not knowing what her feelings towards Jonathan are. In the final analysis, she decided that Jonathan is a bad guy and she hates him. Well, her feelings are complicated right now. Also, she doesn't want to lose her friends Harry and Ron for Jonathan. The feelings towards Jonathan are not as deep as the friendship feelings that she has towards Harry and Ron. With that, the things are solved in her heart. Well, it is not a bad thing for Jonathan, as he could not contain too many loves at the same time. He was preparing many rituals to strengthen his body so that he would be handling many women at the same time in the future. Back in the room of requirements, after Hermione left, Jonathan smiled happily and then looked at the side where Pansy and Daphne are hiding. "Are you happy with what you just saw? Do you want more kisses from me? Since you are already here, then don't leave. Come over here. We are going to take a double take right now," Jonathan said, startling both Pansy and Daphne. They came out with blushed faces and walked step by step, walking towards Jonathan. Jonathan made them both sit on his lap from either side and pulled their faces close to him, giving a three-way kiss. Later he parted and then kissed them separately while tightly hugging them. They did not push him away and kissed him, reciprocating well without any problems. After some time, Daphne asked, "Are you going to pull Hermione into your women too?" Jonathan smiled at her and said, "Well, it depends on how she would react. She is too proud to become my woman easily. She has to slowly taken down over time. Don't worry, there will be many sisters for you to spend your time together. You cannot hog in all the good things for yourself. You have to share with your friends and close people. Having a group that trusts you with their life and you can trust them with your life is very valuable. This cannot be cultivated using friendship unless they are naive idiots. It can only be obtained through love. Chapter 50, Interfere with the protagonist and the villain or leave them be, make your choice. This cannot be cultivated using friendship unless they are naive idiots. It can only be obtained through love, like you and Pansy to me and I am to you. Did you understand? Both Pansy and Daphne nodded their heads. But they also understood that Jonathan would go around smelling flowers in the future. Well, as long as he loved them, they are happy. It is common for nobles to marry and have many wives. So they don't mind and think that it was the symbol of masculinity of Jonathan that they love. After that they also left, and Jonathan also left back to his dorm room to sleep. In the next few days Hermione was in spoiled mood when she came to look for Jonathan. But her kisses are all with passion, as she likes the way Jonathan kisses. Right after kissing she has complicated expression and leaves. This happened for a few days. When the 30 days that they talked about are over, for some reason Hermione came on the 31st day too. Also today is her detention, that is on May 26th. Jonathan did not remain her before kissing, and after kissing Jonathan spoke. Miss Granger. It seems like you came here for an extra day. You seem to have forgotten that our agreed price is for 30 days only. Hermione was shocked as she calculated and became embarrassed. It seems like she used to come to Jonathan every day to kiss him, that it became a habit of her. She has complicated eyes and wanted to leave without saying anything. But Jonathan then spoke. Since you came here for an extra day, I will tell you something important. While you go for detention today, it should be Hagrid. Make sure that you stay with Hagrid, which is the safest. As for Harry, leave him to Malfoy, they will be fine. You must remember to stay with Hagrid for your safety. Also don't be impulsive to do anything. You will complicate things if you did something. As long as you did not do anything, things would be fine. Hermione heard this and glared at Jonathan. She thought that Jonathan is telling her that the things she did would make them complicated. Jonathan did not explain it to her. Anyway, she will be fine and he don't have to worry about her. Voldemort is in a weak state and he would not risk killing anyone. If he killed anyone, then he would be facing a full pursuit immediately. So he could not risk the exposure. Jonathan did not go there to check the situation. He has a very busy schedule and has to study as much as he possible can and quickly. This way he could ask Nicholas if he has any doubts in alchemy. Also there will be the year-end exams soon. Even though he is already prepared, he still needs some studying to do to gain the perfect score. With that he concentrated on studying hard. He is already using the time turner for all the things, as the time he has every day is not enough for him. In the Forbidden Forest, just like Jonathan said, things happened quite strangely. Hagrid directly decided that he would take Hermione with him, while Harry, Draco, and Fang would search the place in 2 teams. When they encountered the dead unicorn and Voldemort, Hermione froze from the sudden shock. She doesn't know what to say at that time. She was very doubtful of Jonathan on how he knows about the future incident. But she remembered that Jonathan is good at divination. So she calmed down and did not make a move. Finally they are all saved by the centaurs. This experience she would remember for life. Her kiss is really worth it, she thought as she traded her kiss for this information and safety. She knows what would happen if she really made a move on Voldemort or the dark figure that killed the unicorn. For a few days everything was same as always without much of a change. Jonathan did not bother with thinking other people's affairs. He gave a copy of his notes to Pansy and Daphne to study and learn. He also taught Neville with patience. Neville is the prime example of a loyal person, just like his parents. It is best to keep him with him. As for Harry and Ron, they are complete waste. Hermione is having hard time teaching them about the important information of the exam. She has her own notes, so Jonathan did not help her. They had their exams in June, and on the last day of their exams Harry got a strike of an idea and immediately he told Hermione and Ron about this. They went to Hagrid to know who gave him the dragon egg. Coincidentally they found that Dumbledore is not here and went to the Ministry of Magic to speak about something. With that they became more alert and they wanted to go inside to defeat the Dark Wizard and save the school and stop Voldemort from returning. Jonathan, that knows all this, was laughing at the bunch of idiots that was the main cause of all the situations. Since it is like that, Jonathan has another plan. Right then he got a choice. Ding! Choice 1, spoil the plans of the protagonist and the villain in any way possible. Host would be rewarded with moderate level dark arts. Choice 2, let them do as they please. The popularity that Host obtained would be overshadowed by the greatness of the protagonist's group. Jonathan did not mind choosing either of the options. This is because he prepared two plans in this matter. The more famous Harry becomes, the more the fall would be when he was done with that. On the other hand, Jonathan wanted both of them. So he has decided to implement both of them at the same time.
Thanks for listening.